All right. What is up? What is up, everyone? Happy Sunday. Happy Sunday. We are here live with our after show for The Idol, episode 5, season series finale. Jocelyn Forever, y'all. We are here to discuss it as we have been for the last several weeks. And before we get into tonight's discussion, I just want to take the time to thank everyone that has been a part of these after shows, that have joined the discussion, that has shared their pros, their cons, their everything. Right? We've had a really good time. Now the show has been a roller coaster to say the least, but this has been the fun part for me. I'll just speak for myself at this point. I have really enjoyed interacting with you all these last 5 weeks, talking about the good, the bad, and the ugly. Because if you guys have been watching these after shows for the last 4 weeks, not to pat myself on the back, but I find myself to have watched this show and have presented to you all these discussions with a pretty balanced display of highlighting the things that are pretty terrible about this show, but also highlighting the good, right? The last few weeks we've been talking about how at least for me, the last two episodes have been pretty decent, to say the least. But it all comes down to this episode 5, and I got some thoughts about it. But again, before we get into it, I want to say what's up to y'all, man. We got 117 angels out there joining me tonight, and I appreciate y'all. Look, man, again, I know the show has been a bit of a roller coaster, to say the least, behind the scenes, in front of the scenes, and everything in between. It's supposed to be 6 episodes. Is this the end of the show? Is the weekend now going to change its name to the weekday? We have a lot to discuss, but if you guys can do me a favor, hit your boy up with a thumbs up if you enjoyed these discussions so far, and if you're excited to talk about this episode tonight. Consider sharing the stream, y'all. If you know people that love the show, that hate the show, but have been watching for the last month or so, definitely share the link to them. We can just have a discussion, man, because this is what it's all about, having a good time and talking about this show, as well as leaving your thoughts in the comments. This is live, right? We're doing a live stream, so I'm going to do my best to kind of interact with y'all as often as I can. Super chats are welcome. It helps me kind of navigate through the chat because it's a bright color and I can see the comment, but definitely leave the comments in the chat, as well as those watching on the replay. I try to get back to those as often as I can. I will be potentially having not one, but maybe two guests that will be joining me here in a little bit. We'll see. But if not, as we did last week, we can go solo, man, and have a good time in the comments. So speaking of the comments, let's see what's up to everyone. Zia, what's going on? Hey, Ellie in the chat. I expected most of what happened tonight, except for the last 10 minutes. This whole episode was a bit of things that we predicted for the last several weeks, but the ending, I got some thoughts about that. Got some thoughts. Didn't make any sense. Yeah, we'll talk about the sense or lack of with some of the stuff here. What's up, Disco? What's up, Stress? We got a lot of the regulars that's been joining me here the last few weeks. Shout out to y'all coming back and discussing this finale. We got BD in the chat talking about, I definitely agree. And we will be, listen, again, regardless of my thoughts of tonight's finale, there were moments in tonight, but just generally speaking, as far as this show, and we'll talk about that towards the end of tonight's stream, there are some things that I took away as a viewer, as a fan of Sam Levinson's work that I've seen, Assassination Nation, Malcolm Marie, of course, Euphoria. There are things about this show, overall speaking, that I will give praises to when that time comes. But one of the praises that I will, and the flowers that I'll be handing out a little bit later, will go to someone like Lily Rose Depp, who I've seen her in a couple of different projects, and she really impressed me with the show. So I will, again, as I've been doing the last 4 or 5 weeks, we're going to talk about the bad, but there are things to be said about this, and I think she's one of the positives to come out of this show. And again, I've seen her work, but this is the best work I've seen of hers. This is obviously the most time she's been on screen, because she's been like a supporting cast in a lot of things I've seen her in, whether it's the King with Timothy Chalamet, Voyager with Tyra Sheridan, and the Wolf that I saw a couple years ago. But this is her moment to shine, and we will get to her, because look, tonight's episode showed her, and I said it last week, she is a wolf in sheep's clothing. So there are good things that we will definitely highlight, and again, Lily will be one of those things. A lot of little yeah, the wardrobe in tonight's episode was very revealing. BD Ellie must be driving some shot. No, I mean I got something to drink here, but it ain't Tedros juice or Tedros drinking going on here. I'm very sober and very well equipped to talk about all the good, the bad, and everything between. One of them being that hairbrush. The hairbrush story. Dan's mom's edit. That is a funny that's a funny name for your profile because that ties I don't know if you did that purposefully or not. Dan's mom. So speaking of moms and hairbrushes, we'll talk about it tonight. I'm starting to scratch my head and think, damn, was that whole Jocelyn mama was an abuser? I talked about it a couple weeks ago. Is that story even true? Because Xander, and I mean it's a lot of things up to be questioned and answered tonight, especially that hairbrush reveal, which turned out to be just a story. The wolf, what is it, the girl that cried wolf. We got a lot to talk about. We definitely got a lot to talk about here, and that hairbrush will definitely be one of the topics for sure. We got some Isaac fans. Matter of fact, while I wait for my guests to get in, and we'll start the stream in a little bit here, and I might put a poll in the chat in a second. But in the meanwhile, out of putting Jocelyn aside, between Isaac, Chloe, and I think her name was Ramsey, who was the best artist? Who would you, if you was Nikki or Andrew, who would you sign? I'm gonna probably put this in the chat a little bit later, but just as we're waiting for my guests and we'll get everything set up for the actual discussion, out of Isaac, Chloe, and Ramsey, who would you personally sign to your record label? I'm very curious to know. Let me know in the chat. And again, I'll probably put a poll in the chat a little bit later to see where you guys are at. But as we're kind of getting through some of these comments before we break it all down, let me know in the comments right now, those watching live. Isaac, you can only pick one. Isaac, Chloe, or Ramsey, who are you signing to run your record label to go on tour to be the next weekend? Let me know in the chat. Let me know. Let's see. I guess Jocelyn is the cult leader now. Yeah, she got her family. She got her family, right? We will definitely get into that tonight. I predict Elliot would say it was terrible. Hey, we'll get into it. We'll get into it. There were definitely some thoughts I had while watching this finale. But listen, man, I'm gonna scroll on down and see what other comments you guys have. I gotta hear what Elliot. Oh, we're gonna get into it. We're gonna get into it here. Simone, what's going on, Real? How we doing tonight? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for helping me unpack the show and have this platform to speak my mind on the show. So I appreciate you as well. All right, y'all. Just reading through these final comments. Yes, as people are saying in the comments, hit the thumbs up. It's free. It's 100% free. I ain't Tedros out in these streets, right? I ain't pimping y'all for any dollars, but you can help your boy out by hitting that thumbs up. It goes a long way, and I really appreciate that, y'all. Yes, thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up. Really, really appreciate it. This finale was peak episode of the series. Loved it. Well, I'm glad you loved it. I'm glad someone loved it, because love is not the word I would describe of this episode. That is not the word I would use, but we will get into it here in a bit. I can see Eminem. That's a tough order. It's been some great performances so far this year, and a lot to be had for the rest of the year. But we'll see. We'll see what it looks like come next year. And yes, I'll definitely have that in my notes. We will be addressing my kind of thoughts around the hairbrush and just the whole mom situation in general when we get to that point. All right. So now I'm down to the comments. So the question was, who would you all sign if you was Nikki, if you was Andrew? Who would you sign to your record label, Death Row Records, between Chloe, Isaac, and Ramsey? And we got some comments I'm going to read off here. Let me see who we got. All right, so we got a Chloe. All right, we got a Chloe. We got some Isaac fans. Okay. Is it trust me, I will get to that line. Funniest line tonight. He looks like a Targaryen. That had me dying laughing. But we got some Isaac fans in the chat. We got some Chloe's. We got another Chloe. Okay, seems like Chloe's winning so far. Ramsey or Chloe, voices says, okay. None of them free. Well, BD, you got to pick someone. Just one of the three. We got, okay. So it looks like a lot of Chloe's. Chloe is annoying. Hey, there's a lot of artists that are annoying, but that doesn't take away the talent. None, they were garbage. Listen, L, I disagree with you. I highly disagree with you, because I think there were some talented individuals I'm going to share my thought of who I would sign, but I disagree. They were not garbage. Those were some talented MFers. You know what? I should have said Xander. That was the first time we really saw him perform. I should have put Xander in that. So if you guys want to, you can throw Xander in the mix if you want to. Chloe, Xander, Isaac, and Ramsey. You could throw him in. Shout out to Xander. Playing both sides of the fence. But it looks like a lot of people are saying Chloe. And Xander is a real, I think, if I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong, for those that are, very familiar with the talent behind the show, a lot of the people involved were actually like artists, if I'm not mistaken. I believe Chloe's an actual artist. Diane, we talked about her weeks ago. She's in a K-pop band, a worldwide phenomenon, superstar in her own right. So a lot of the actors that were posing as singers were, besides, Lily, she's an actress that was pretending to be a singer. And of course, we know The Weeknd. So a lot of the people behind, or I should say in front of the camera, were actually like real life artists. And I think you can tell with some pretty good vocals and some pretty good swag to them. So yeah. All right. So yeah, it looks like a lot of them are saying Chloe. So to answer my own question, y'all, I'm signing Chloe, y'all. And again, I haven't looked up her music, but I'm pretty confident she's a real artist in real life. So we got a lot of Chloes, and a couple Isaacs, and what happened to Leia. It's a lot of questions in the air that we'll get into. But with that being said, I was kind of stalling there to wait till my guests pop in, and I got one of them in the back room. He wasn't able to join me last week because he was too busy buying tickets for the world tour that Jocelyn's going on, but he is here to join us tonight. You know him, you love him, the one and only Nine from 9 Nerd Yards. Nine, what's going on? Oh, let me hold on. Let's see. There we go. There he is. Nine, like I said, man, I know you were buying the tickets last week, and I know you couldn't make it last week. Were the tickets for her concert, was it just as crazy as Beyonce's and Taylor Swift? Was it?
I missed my rent payment for those.
Yeah, I heard they were going for a grip, man.
Yeah. I was front row, though. We were out there.
That's the only way to get it, man. Front row to see the family, right? And see the love of her life.
I'm part of the family now.
Hey, listen. Aren't we all? And then there you know it.
What's up, my angels?
Nah, it's good to see you, man. I know you weren't able to join us last week, but I'm so excited to see you tonight and talk about this episode. I got my second guest joining us here in a bit, Nine. But before I bring him in, why don't you introduce, because we might have a lot of new viewers tonight, Nine. Why don't you introduce yourself to the people at home and let them know who you are and why are you the world's biggest fan of Joss?
My name is Nine. You can find me at 9 Nerd Yards on YouTube. I cover a lot of the same stuff. In fact, I'm the world's biggest fan of Joss because I will be covering the same episode this Wednesday with the rest of my crew. So tune in there. I would love it if you subscribe and we can get into it that way too.
Yes, sir. Big fan of Nine, and so excited to have him on tonight's panel. And of course, guys, you can find his link in the description of this video. My next guest has been, I'm a huge fan of his. We have had a lot of collaborations in the last almost 3 years now. I'm so excited to have him on and talk to him about this show. Not only is he the world's biggest Jocelyn fan, but he's also the biggest Washington Wizards fan now. Shout out to Jordan Poole. The one and only Chris from Taste Take. What's going on, my man?
Okay, a little Jordan Poole early. Okay. Had to get it out
there, man. CP3 Curry, let's do it. What's going on, Chris? How we doing, man?
Listen, man, we are good, man. It's Sunday. It's holiday weekend, man.
Yeah, man.
I was so behind. I thought next week was the last episode. That's how I'm not even in the right wavelength.
Trust me, Chris. You and me and a million of us out there was like, wait, one episode left? Is there 6 episodes left? Is this the series? It's a lot of questions up in the air, man. So you weren't the only one, Chris.
Okay, Chris. I feel better. What's up, Nine?
Hey,
Nine, this is Chris. Chris, this is Nine. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with each other's content, but if
I'm
not,
about to be.
Hey, I was saying, if not, look them up, YouTube it, and everyone at home do the same because these are 2 great content creators, but more importantly, 2 great people. But Chris, man, I've had you on the channel 1,000,001 times, but I'm glad to have you back on. But just in case this is the people at home first time being introduced to you, Chris, why don't you introduce yourself to the people at home, my friend?
What's up, people at home? Happy Sunday. Happy holiday weekend if you are here in the United States of America. I'm Chris Tate, representing Tate's Take. I do a lot of movie content, TV content on my YouTube channel. I've got Twitter and all that kind of good stuff. If you want to connect with me, you can subscribe. I'm sure you got the link somewhere around here. I try to give you just a little background on the content, along with my opinion, all that kind of stuff. Big Marvel fan, big comedy fan, big Netflix fan. So I try to cover as much as I can. Got a little sprinkle on TikTok here and there, but yeah, that's really the groove. This is my first time. I think is this our first non-comic book thing or not?
We did Creed. We did Creed a couple weeks ago.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah. This is good. But I always watch your HBO stuff, and I'm happy to get on this one. And then luckily, I thought I had another week, so here we are.
Hey, here we are, man. And like Chris said, yes, we have been collabing for the last several years with a lot of Marvel stuff. But I'm so excited to get his thoughts on this episode and the series as a whole. We'll get into that, guys. So again, Chris and Nine's information can be found in the link of this this video, y'all. So before we get into tonight's episode, I have a couple questions for you both. But I want to start with Chris. This is his first time kind of talking about the show on the live panel. Just in general, Chris, what has been your general impressions of this show? Are you a fan of Sam Levinson from his Euphoria time on HBO? Have you been enjoying the series? Have you been dreading the series? What has been the experience for you, man?
That's a complicated question, but I'm a complicated dude. So let me see if I can
answer
it.
Let's do it.
I don't know if I can call myself Sam fan. I'm a big Euphoria fan, so maybe that's enough. So I was interested to see what this would be like. I'm not a huge Weekend fan. I'm one of the guys I respect that he's good at his craft.
Yeah,
never seen Depp, but yeah. What was the last question? Like, don't you want me to how I like the show? So
how has been the experience for you? Because I know there's been some people.
Yeah,
I know Nine can attest to this. There's been people that, have been trying to find things, as we've been doing the last 4 weeks, to find things to talk about in a positive light. And there's been other people that's been hating on the show and just been watching because it's like a car crash. Sometimes you can't take your eyes off of it. So what has been the experience for you?
I feel it's a little overhated based on, I haven't read a lot of reviews. I haven't read a lot of press. It seems a little overhated. But my thing is, I've never hated a character more than I've hated Tedros. I don't think in quite some time. But the way that I love Joss, the way that I love pretty much most of the supporting cast, I'm like, wait a minute, this dude is terrible, but I can get down with this show, especially at 5 episodes. Like I can, this is digestible. This is interesting.
Yeah.
Hollywood's a weird place, and that's a lot of that. I'm sure that's how it would be like. So I think it's overhated. I think people like to just complain, but I'm interested. I know y'all probably dug into it more. You can tell me what people's real problems with it is, but I have a problem with the Weeknd, and I don't know if it's how he's written or how he's acting, but besides that, I think the show is definitely watchable.
Yeah, it's been, and now you can definitely, share what you have perceived the negativity to be. I mean, some of it has been the sexual nature of the show, which to me is to each their own, but to me, it's like, have y'all not seen HBO before? Have you not watched Euphoria? But again, we've had those conversations.
And I don't even think I think Euphoria is and they're kids. And I think that's crazy.
I was going to say, watch episode 1 of Euphoria and then come back to me and talk to me about this show. But there has been some of that. And again, to each their own about the sexual nature of the show. But I think also, Nine, you could attest to it, the acting hasn't been the greatest, especially from the weekday.
Nice.
There's been some.
Nice.
There's been
I ain't
some.
gonna tell him you said that.
Hey, man. We'll call him Abel. And there's been some inconsistencies in the tone and the narrative. I mean, now what has been your, we're at the finale now. What has been your perception of why the audiences have either hate watched the show or bash the show without giving it a chance? Like, what has been your perception of that?
I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head when you're talking about the sexuality of it. I mean, a lot of softcore porn, just kind of sprinkled in there, and where the plot it's just not necessary to the plot. Right. And you can argue with other shows on HBO, maybe it's not completely necessary, but it's also not very blatant and in your face like all the time on the show. This episode, I'm gonna say, was actually pretty good. And I think honestly, starting from episode 3, that's when I was like, okay, we're getting into the meat and potatoes here. And it's not just like all this just kind of meandering around and introducing little tidbits sprinkled in between the softcore porn moments. Yeah. So it lends itself to be hate watched, It was just the everyone's target.
Yeah, I mean it's one of the only big shows at HBO. With Succession ending and Barry ending, it's kind of the flagship Sunday night TV show for the
Oh
last
yeah.
5 weeks. So I think inherently people are expecting. And listen, to be fair, I'm an HBO stan. I will, or I should say, Max. Now, I have always been like HBO is here, and everyone else is like looking up to them. So there is a
Mhm.
certain standard that I think a lot of us are accustomed to with HBO shows, and I don't think this show has definitely necessarily haven't hit the high notes that we've come to expect from this. But like Nan just said, I do agree with him. The last few episodes, we'll get to my thoughts about tonight, but the last few episodes have been solid. You can see that
Mhm.
there's pieces to the puzzle that makes sense, but there's just so many other pieces that are crooked and broken and just aren't even
Yeah.
part of the puzzle at all.
Right.
But
And
nonetheless,
especially in a
yeah,
world where we don't know if there's any more, there's a lot of loose ends that's not tied up
yeah,
that we'll
yeah,
never
man.
maybe never get closure on.
The Chris, to be
And
honest with you, I don't think it will be, and that's a whole
Yeah.
nother conversation about the behind the scenes of who was brought onto the show, let go of the show, the toxicity on the set. It's a lot going on. I'll feel confident enough to say that I don't think we're going to see a season 2, but
Yeah.
I've been
But they
proven wrong
felt
before.
they felt enough. They felt a way to say that we don't know yet. I mean, like I don't know why. Just don't say anything.
Yeah, there's
honestly,
some
it should have just
yeah.
been a movie in the first place.
Honestly, Nan,
Interesting.
I could see this being
It
like
should
a
have just been a
Max
movie.
exclusive movie that probably would have played better than this series. But before we get into the night's conversation, we got 201 angels out there watching us live. If y'all angels can
Hey,
do us a
nice, nice,
favor,
nice.
hit the thumbs up, share, but more importantly, Chris and Nan, check out their content. It's fire, y'all. And speaking of fire, I got a question for Chris and Nine, and I already asked the people in the chat, but very curious. Starting with you, Nine. If you were Nikki, Andrew, or an executive looking for talent, who are you signing first, Nine? I'm talking about Ramsey, Chloe,
Oh,
Chloe.
Xander.
it's already Chloe. Yeah, Chris
It's
got
Is
it.
Chloe.
Chloe?
Chloe.
Is it?
And
Yeah, or
then
an Isaac.
like
Throw Isaac in the
right.
mix.
Isaac is like right below her.
Okay.
But I think he just needs to work on like whatever his tone is going to be.
Okay.
I feel like. What do you think? Like he was going to be like more D'Angelo style,
He's
or
a
He was
he's a
Prince to me. He was
he was Prince?
he was Prince with
prince.
abs.
Right, Prince was. Yeah.
Yeah, a
Okay.
Prince, Frank Ocean amalgamation, Targaryen looking, all that stuff. He's an interesting one. So we got one for Chloe. Chris, what say you, man? You doing Chloe, Isaac, Ramsey, Xavier? Who are you signing on Death Row Records? Who's your first artist?
Yeah, no, I would sign Chloe first too, and then I think I would agree. I would do Isaac second. Xander is good,
Yeah,
but he ain't loyal, man. He ain't getting
he's
on my label.
Yeah.
He
ain't
ain't
loyal,
getting
Chris.
nowhere near my label. But if he was loyal,
Yeah.
I would sign him too.
Yeah, I mean, to answer my own question, I think I'm going with Chloe, even though she was on the streets doing heroin, and I think she said she
was a
was
kid,
17 last week or 18,
Yeah,
so
she didn't know.
yeah, she's a youngin. Hopefully she has a lot more years ahead of her, but I think Chloe would be the one for me next to that being Isaac. But again, let us know in the chat. But speaking of letting us know, let's just go ahead and just jump right into it. Rip the Band-Aid off. What's going on, everyone? We are here tonight to talk about the season series finale, episode 5 of The Idol, titled Jocelyn Forever. As you all can see on the screen, I'm not alone. I got my crew with me. I got my family here with me. Shout out to that Tough Love song. I got my man Nine, who's been joining me the last few weeks, and I got my man Chris, who's been on the channel a bazillion times, and I'm always grateful to see him on. Listen, gentlemen, we are here to talk about the finale, and just before we break it all down, again, Chris, I want to start with you. Just initial impressions when you press play to when you got done watching it. Did you say to yourself, you know what? That was a pretty good finale. Or did you say, you know what? Is there another 4 or 5 episodes to really wrap this up? How'd you feel about, just generally speaking, Chris, about this finale?
I thought that the finale was maybe better than I thought it would be, but there are a million things unanswered, which that will never be answered. So there's always going to be room for more. I don't want 5 more episodes. I don't think I want 5 more.
I don't think
episodes.
It had another 5 episodes to be honest with you.
But just seeing Jocelyn boss up, seeing the Weeknd groveling, I like that. I like that a lot.
Sweating like Horn Church,
and the looks too. Like she was serving also. I'm not woman fashion expert, but she's just serving every shot. Like, just obviously she grew up in Hollywood, so it's not like this is foreign to her, but like she looks like a pop star, like more than most current pop stars actually look.
Yeah. I think her mom, and if I'm not mistaken, is an actual supermodel, or was in her heyday, and of course her and her dad is a
too, but
an icon. Regardless of the last few years, he hasn't been up to par to what we used to, but I mean, he's Johnny Depp, so she definitely has the look and the talent. 9, what say you? Finale, did it work? Did it not work?
Oh, I mean, I was very impressed with it, especially with all of the things floating around, with the episode getting cut short. The internet bullied HBO to cut out an episode. Because, like, I was thinking, how does that work then? How do you get rid of an episode?
How does that work?
If it's the finale. So maybe they did some strange editing. I have a feeling it may have been around like the time skip, the 6 week jump.
That is a
that
big
may
thing I
be
have in my
where
notes.
But yeah, I was like, well, if this was cut down, they did a fantastic job, and they probably should have done that for the rest of the season too, and cut out a lot of the
episode
slack.
1 and 2.
Make it like really tight or something. But I think this was almost just getting interesting for me. So
it's interesting. Well said, gentlemen. I think I'm in the middle. I'm not as happy with the episode as you two might have seemed so far, but I'm also not hating on the episode. I to 9's last point, I almost saw the edit on when it was like this was the end of episode 5 and this was the beginning or maybe the middle of episode 6. And like 9 said, when we get that 6 week jump, it's like, what has happened? Tedros IRS. We got singles out there. The tour started. It's like there's a lot that just happened in the last 10 minutes that I felt like was definitely cut to kind of making an episode. And if I'm not mistaken, there's been so many rumors out there that there was a 6th episode, but then Sam Levinson, when he came on, kind of just combined the episodes into one because, you know, it was just a mess to get everything wrangled together from the behind the scenes issues. So not a terrible finale, but I still feel as though it wasn't as good as episode 3 and 4 for me personally. But we'll get into
that's what I was going to ask you. Which one was your favorite? Was it last week or?
Chris, it probably was last week for me because the moment there's some good acting for me last week with Lily and her coming out to be the real person behind the scenes, the real monster of the show. There was just some moments and I'm like, yo, that's Lily Rose, Jocelyn.
I thought you were trying to say
giving out the real
Leia.
Jocelyn.
I'm like, no, Leia. No, she good. No, she cool.
Yeah, Leia.
Speaking of Leia, I mean,
the whole thing.
I was like, wait a minute, I didn't see that twist. Hold on, let me put
the Leia situation, as we'll get into, I almost feel like they should just cut her role or just cut out Xander and just give all the Leia stuff to. We'll talk about her. I feel like they just kind of
wasn't crazy for
dropped the ball.
Make that switch like that too. Like, bro, you really just got Stockholm syndrome like that?
It's very true, but that's another little con in my notes here. The whole Xander switcheroo scene went by way too fast. But we'll get into it. But let us know in the comments before we break it all down. How do you all generally feel about this finale? But opening up the breakdown, 9, we start the episode off with Mike and Josh continuing to work on music. And look, man, she's not just looking at us, talking and singing to the audience, but she's looking at Tedros as he's sitting there watching, upset. He's drinking his sorrows around. Last week we saw him get played like a Nintendo with her hooking back up with Rob. And I'm not gonna lie, 9, this song here, as the show has went on, because I think if you remember 9, I wasn't a fan of like the first few singing notes or the first few songs of the show, but as we went along, the songs got a little bit better. I don't know if it was purposeful, as she was finding her voice again, but this was a fire song. I'm not a musical expert, but I thought that Tough Love, One of Your Girls song was like super fire, and I thought Jocelyn did a good job performing that musical note. But just generally speaking, now, how'd you feel about this opening scene as we see him kind of making demands, Tedros demanding this, that, and the third, and Jocelyn just flat out tells him, I'm done with you, bro, and you served your purpose, be gone. How do you feel about all that opening stuff, man?
I was surprised he was still in the house. But first, let me say that I love Mike Dean's performance, and just like how he felt like he was part of the audience watching the show, and just kind of like making fun of the whole situation. And if you remember, I was saying Tedros is a vampire. I was like, he's going to
Bro,
be a vampire.
I thought
And
of you when they literally
remember,
said the line in this
my
episode.
dude was
I'm
like,
like,
he's a vampire. I was
they've been
like,
watching 9.
there it is. There it is. We got
Yeah,
confirmation. That's my little vindication for this whole pain that we went through these last 5 weeks.
yeah,
But yeah, I was just surprised that Tedros was still in the house. Like, get this motherfucker out of here. Calling
yeah.
him Uber or something. But we find out why she's not gonna press that button quite yet, because he's willing to escalate it to crazy levels. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I agree. Chris, man, same question for you, this opening scene, but in particularly, Chris, I know you mentioned Tedros a little bit earlier, how you felt about him, just terrible character, terrible individual. I'm just curious, Chris, I'm sure I know the answer, but you might shock me.
Mhm.
Was there any remorse? Did you feel bad? Did you feel any sympathy for Tedros as he's kind of essentially the players getting played, if you want to call it that? Did you feel bad for him at all? As she's just
Never,
like, I don't need you no more. You served your
never,
purpose. Go in the
never,
corner and cry.
never. Not even a little bit.
Not
Never.
even a little bit.
Not
Yeah,
even a little bit. No,
I agree.
I thought he was terrible. I thought he deserved all that, and then even more, because then at the end he's still getting shine because she put him on stage. So
So weird.
so like why would I even feel bad at that in the last place? Because it really could have got away. Maybe some of the fans would, like, if security didn't let him in, they really wasn't joking with him. Then I would have been like, okay, some people might find some remorse there. I still wouldn't, but you could make that argument. But no, I thought he was terrible the whole time watching this show, because I know I haven't been on the lives with you, but the whole time I watched the show, it's like, this dude is terrible, but Jocelyn is not like a dumb blonde. Like, I was like, why would she be falling for this? I'm like, I kept thinking that every week. I was like, there's no way, because it's like, we know the type, like a younger, maybe more impressionable star in Hollywood might fall
brand
for
new
that.
to Hollywood. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. But I'm like, nah, there's no way. Like, and her team know better. Like, I was like, this is no way. Like, there's no way that she's falling for this. But I mean, I guess it made sense in the end. But yeah, zero remorse. Look at this dude. Looks ridiculous.
The rat tail sweated out,
depressed,
smelling like a bottom of a trash can. He's depressed, Nine. And I guess to pose a question to you, Nine, do you feel like the show at any point wanted us to feel remorse or feel bad for Tedros, or was the intention to always hate him? Because the show kind of pivoted into a sense
they
want you to feel bad for him. Like, Jocelyn's been the one that's been evil this whole time. I'm kind of confused on how you felt about how the show handled that.
Anything, they just wanted us to show that Jocelyn has her faults too. I don't know if they were really pointing it to a level like we should feel bad for him, because he doesn't really get the backstory that all of the other cult members get, with like Chloe being like a heroin addict, or like Isaac being like a strong part of the church, and like I think maybe possibly getting kicked out of his family or something like that.
Right.
But I never felt like they were
devils.
Shout out Wanda.
Yeah. But yeah, maybe that's what they cut out of this other episode. I wish we would have got a full episode of just him just going through the downfall, and it's just him stressing out the whole time. That 6 weeks, that would have been great. Maybe I would have felt bad for him then. Who knows?
Maybe not, because again, and all this stuff has been hearsay and rumors to a certain extent, but the whole idea of like the behind the scenes of, apparently The Weeknd got into it with the initial director because he felt like it was more female centric and he wanted to make it more, I guess, a little bit more balanced. And I totally agree with you that there seemed to be more on the table for Tedros to make you, I don't know, make the audience somewhat sympathize. I don't know how you sympathize with someone that we find out he was a woman beater last week. He was in jail for 6 years for kidnapping. It's like, I don't think there's any room for like sympathy.
Right, exactly.
So I don't know if that would have helped if we would have spent more time with him. And I don't know if, being for real, I don't know if I want to see a whole episode of The Weeknd acting, just to be honest. But it's really weird how, I don't know what the show was trying to make us think of him. But again, I did have my notes. I thought it was so funny that Mike did bring up that he is a vampire. And to your point now to how Mike was playing to the scene, I mean, he was around, he's been around his fair share of artists, one of them being Kanye, who they also dropped again last week. So he's been around his fair share of some weirdos in Hollywood, to say the least. But as we move on from this opening scene, again, Chloe says, again, Joss is playing him. And it is funny, like Chris was saying, I do love all the digs she's taken at him these last several weeks. But when she's telling Mike the story of how they met and recalling it all. I thought it was funny because she calls him out of how he was obsessed with her and this, that, and the third, and he's just kind of he feels embarrassed about the whole scenario at hand. But like you said, Chris, I loved all that stuff, that putting the pie in his face and just being like, "You thought you fooled me, fool! You didn't mess with the wrong one. You didn't match your match." Chris, any more thoughts on Tedros getting embarrassed?
Nah. 10 out of 10 would
10 out of 10,
recommend.
man.
need to see it again, and she ain't like leave off the gas.
See, the thing is that he did, because I thought that was the twist, was going to be that, like, oh, she knew about all of that
From the very beginning,
right? Like,
yeah.
from the get. And I'm like, how did you not know about that from the get? Like,
Yeah.
that almost seemed like pretty obvious from the outside looking in, but it seemed like she kind of should have been aware from just like looking up his history and just knowing like how he knows everybody. It's like that's literally his MO for every single other one of these people that he's got around with him.
Yeah, that's why I feel like the twist wasn't so twisty. It was like, okay,
like,
all right, like it could have been twistier, like if they set it up different or made her pretend to be like, or show us that she was a little ditzier or dumber. But they're showing us like how capable she is and how she is like kind of like a boss of her brand. So I'm like, nah, this girl would not fall for this.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, Chris, I think we talked about it a couple weeks ago. Because it's always been a suspicion, like you mentioned earlier, Chris. There's no way that she's been in the industry since she was probably, I think she said 10 years she's been in the industry. Mm-hmm. You learn a lot, no matter how head in the sand your mom or dad is controlling all your money. You still recognize what's going on. So of course she can recognize certain things. So I've always had that feeling that she was just playing kind of dumb to her advantage, but I think the show could have done a little bit better job of making that reveal just a little bit more impactful, that she didn't know. Mm-hmm. And to your point, Chris, and I think we talked about it 9, if the show would have presented her being fresh to the, industry, being a new artist, and all this is coming at her at once, she can't tell who's on her side, who's, against her. That would have been, a nice moment to kind of, oh, she has been paying attention. But again, the writing was on the wall since episode 1. I think of the very first scene, Jocelyn in her photo shoot, laugh, smile, cry, that whole emotionally, unstable person. She can do that on a drop of a dime. Kind of played their hand a little bit earlier that she is a manipulator in a sense. She can manipulate her emotions at any point.
Yeah, and when the photo came out, she didn't give a fuck about that shit. She was
like, she was like, oh, that's it?
That's cool.
Right? That's the only thing out there.
I thought y'all had some news from me. That's my
right. It's like, it's another Tuesday, right? This is another Tuesday for her. But speaking of Jocelyn, we see her heading into the studio or heading into the executive office. And again, like Chris mentioned, she is full on boss mode. She comes in there and Leia's like, how did everything go? And she lets them know they love the song. So again, I don't know if I'm going to ever revisit the show. Probably not. But just looking at the confidence level from Jocelyn of episode 1, her not being confident in herself, doing the dance routine, her being on the video shoot, not being able to hit the mark, to now seeing her demanding people's attention, walking through the office, like, I'll run this. I'm your number one artist. I got to go back to Chris's comments that, yes, Lily played it off as far as like being a boss bitch. She really showed that in that scene. Any thoughts on that, Chris or Nine?
Go ahead, Nine.
No, it speaks to the point, and where if we would have seen her like this and kind of like more on a mission, because we know that she's on her comeback tour and she's dealing with the loss of her mom, right? And that would have been a pretty interesting battle, right?
Yeah.
And if she was actually like then figured out like what Tedros was doing to her, that would have been a lot more intriguing, and it would have shown a lot more agency on her part, where at this is kind of just like, it's almost seems a bit problematic. Like you needed to get pimped out to become yourself or something. Like, I don't know what the messaging is really. It's weird.
It is weird, and definitely get your thoughts on this, Chris. Do you think what Don just said, does it play into the whole idea? And we'll talk about if even the mom being as abusive as Jocelyn made out to be, if that was even true. But do you think that toxic nature came from her mom, and like she attaches herself to people that she know probably aren't the best for her, but they pull the best out of her? Like, what do you think about Jocelyn, kind of her manipulating people to get what she wants out of them, even though if it means it, messes her up as an individual?
Yeah, I think the abuse was real because I think that Xander would have reacted differently to that whole reveal. So I think that's supposed to be a real thing. But yeah, of course, she attaches to people that might not be the best for her.
Hmm.
But I just still like I'm still curious why she would include him in the end at the show because it's like, yeah, if the show just said, oh, you just used this dude for his people that he has around, like
Right.
these young artists, you got them, you made the tour hot, and then dumped them, then I'd be like, okay, that makes sense. But
Right.
then to just say I'm gonna introduce the world to the love of my life, it's just like,
It's like,
so yeah, y'all
huh?
both, yeah, it just don't, it ain't make sense.
It didn't add up. It
The
didn't add
fuck?
up. And this show pulls a lot of like cultural references. Like in this episode, we'll get to the whole Rob situation of like an actor being in controversy, a la
Yeah,
Ezra
Rob
Miller,
catches a
Jonathan
rape charge,
Majors.
and then that's it. Like,
Yeah, yeah. So
we
like that
don't
was
go back to it from a photo, and then that's it. Like,
yeah, yeah. That was very like very kind of in the zeitgeist. So to Chris's point, now, like, who do you think this show is trying to, I don't know, emulate this relationship on that? And we'll get to it further in the conversation about her pulling him back on the team. But like, can you think of anyone off top who this show is maybe trying to replicate as far as like a toxic? Like last week, I said they remind. I don't know if y'all used to
is he
watch
talking about Ezra?
VH1s.
Yeah, I didn't say it. I'm just drinking my drink.
Well,
Yeah,
yeah, that's a whole story. But yeah, do you think there's a? And I said last week to me, I brought up Jocelyn Hernandez and Stevie J. I don't know if y'all ever used to watch Love and Hip Hop back in the day,
of
but
course we did.
they
Yeah.
they remind me a little bit of that now. But and we'll get to it further. But do you think off top was there anything to you that made Jocelyn decide to bring him back on the team? Is it because he is a talent? He could pick out talent. He might not have any talent,
Yeah,
but he knows what
Yeah,
talent is.
again, it just speaks more to the problematic nature of the show is
Yeah.
because it's basically just saying like, you know, he's not a good guy, but his methods have worked out.
yeah.
And
He
he
did have
he
good
did make a
connections.
star and
Yeah.
he did make some hits, and that's at the end of the day, if we're all playing this game, if
Yeah.
the executives are playing their game, all the people below you trying to make the come up are playing their game, and then I'm going to play mine too. I guess that's kind of like the only balance, but the thing is that Tedros was like just so fucked up where
Yeah.
like the imbalance doesn't really work out like in
Yeah,
a
it's a weird
narrative for that.
thing. It's
Yeah.
weird, man. Because again, even the last shot of him looking at her, being like, "What did I get myself into?" It's just like, who
Hmm.
cares? I mean, it's just you have no redeeming factors about you. I don't feel bad for you being in this kind of ball and chain relationship. It's like I don't care. This is the bed you
Right.
made. You're gonna sleep in it. So we'll get to that a little bit later, but. I want to get you again, Chris. I'm gonna start with you because again, I'm totally with you on Dragon Tedros as much as possible. This is yet
Mhm.
again another example of Jocelyn showing her true colors when she finds out that Andrew's gonna come in and talk about his concerns with the tour.
With the
She
tour.
goes down there and wakes up all the sleeping babies. It's like 1 o'clock in the afternoon. They're sleeping like it's 8 o'clock in the morning. What man, those are the days when you're like 18, 19, and you could just, sleep your life away. But we see them waking them up, and she tells Chloe, Ramsey, and Isaac, you guys are going to be on the tour, opening the tour. And Tedros is like, no, you're not. And she's telling him to shut up. And it's just constantly putting them down, shutting them up. I guess for me, Chris, the reason I'm
Mhm.
shocked by this behavior is because every time we would see someone almost talk against Tedros, they would like get in line and be like so scared and afraid, but no one said anything. They were just like, yeah, Jocelyn, we're listening to you now. Was that switch up in their demeanor and not being as scared as him as they were acting a couple episodes ago? Did it catch you off guard? They're no longer afraid of Tedros and they're now following the new cult leader in Jocelyn?
Yeah, so let me just go. I'm gonna talk in circles like I always do. First, you mentioned like celebrity comparisons,
Yeah.
and it's tough to make a comparison like this, but I think there's a at least a 1% little bit of Whitney and Bobby here, where me, as I'm not a Whitney historian, but like we kind of grew up with the narrative like Bobby's a bad influence and
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
got
Yeah.
her into all these
Got
drugs,
her
and
into
then when you
drugs
got a
and
little
stuff. Yeah.
older, some people have the idea that low key Whitney was kind of doing some things on her own. So I think there's a
Mm.
little bit of that there. Now,
Yeah. I
back
can see
back
that. I can see that.
back to Tedros. I thought it was crazy, and I know y'all been talking about other episodes. I'm just late. But I thought it was kind of crazy when we were learning about like the whole like Tedros doesn't allow us to say no thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So then Josh is like, okay, Isaac, then kiss me then, and then he's like, well, no, he would kill me. So
Exactly.
then like what like where was that line? So it's like, yes,
Mhm.
to your point, to your question was like, yeah, of course, like it switched up because before they wouldn't even they're saying yes to everything except certain things, so it's not everything. And then now today it's like, yeah, like no one's listening to you. I guess like because like now it's like Mean Girls
Mhm.
were like she just became the queen bee.
Right.
Right.
Now, your
Yeah.
thoughts on it? Like I said, I feel like that whole build up to him being this big bad vampire kind of went away very quickly. Like there's no consequences to their actions. He's not
Mhm.
tasing Isaac in the balls with the taser like he was a
Right.
couple weeks ago. Like, am I missing something now?
Well,
Like, did
Isaac
they
was busy
lose?
stretching
Yeah,
and
he did the yoga. It was just a yoga moves. Yeah.
mhm. He was doing yoga. But yeah, I take this as like almost it's like a hostile takeover, right? They just the strength is in the numbers, and if you don't got the votes and you're overthrown, it's a mutiny. But at the end of the day, they didn't break free from like and gain their independence. They just
Yeah.
picked out a new pimp,
Yep.
and now it came in the form of Jocelyn.
Yep.
And they had their daddy, now they got their mommy.
It's very true. I mean, and now we were covering just a few weeks ago or a month ago at this point now, Succession. This is
Mhm.
and not to spoil those that haven't caught up with Succession, but let's just say all the old guard who was,
Mhm.
representing the Roy families, all of a sudden just, found their new master in the finale. Again, I won't
Mhm.
spoil how that ended, which I do have in my notes. There is almost a Succession moment at the end of this episode with the hands being held out with Shiv and Tom that we'll talk about later. But
I was
it was a
thinking The
very
Graduate.
reminiscent. Yes, it was
The
almost
gra-
like, damn, is that a shot for shot? But yeah, I agree with you guys, Bo. I feel like the show kind of lost not the show, but the character Tedros lost a lot of the fear factor that it was almost created in the first few episodes. That he's no one you want to piss off or get on the bad side with, but he just became a joke at the end, and Jocelyn was telling him what to do, how to do it, when to do it, how high do you jump. It was kind of it wasn't well executed like I would have liked it to be. But speaking of execution, y'all, I'm looking at 600 or 265 awesome angels out there watching us live, but only 86 likes. Can y'all help
What?
this stream out and give us some more thumbs up, my
They
angels,
treating us like they
please?
treat the idol.
I guess they're just watching us, Chris. They're just watching us. But
Nah,
no, if
it's
y'all
all
can
good.
hit
It's
the
all
thumbs
good.
up, I would appreciate it. And of course,
It's
continue to
free.
leave your thoughts in the comments. And speaking of the comments, just to pivot over to see what these people are talking about here. Let me see if you got any questions for us or anyone on the panel. Let us know. Let us know. There's definitely some comparisons to Whitney Houston, as my man Chris brought up. I definitely see those comparisons there. Who else do we have? Let's see. The switch up came out of nowhere. Yeah, I think we just kind of hit on that. I didn't feel like it was earned as far as them all of a sudden now just being like, yes, Jocelyn, we'll listen to you and this, that, and another. Pimp. Would y'all agree with that? Jocelyn was a pimp.
Nah, she ain't a pimp, man. She's a good
Yeah.
girl.
She's learning. She's learning how to pimp.
She definitely is. Let us know as we're looking at the chat if you guys have any questions, comments, concerns before we pivot back over. And just a little side note, Chris and Nine, before we get back into it, have y'all got a chance to see any of the new flicks this past week? The Flash, Indiana Jones, anything you guys catch up with in the last few weeks while I look through these
No,
comments?
I
no,
didn't. I seen Flash, of course, but I didn't get to Indiana Jones. But I also, this is amongst friends. I've never seen any Indiana Jones. You can go ahead and kick me off if you want, but I'm just going to say I'm gonna log back in anyway. But I haven't seen that. I haven't seen that. But I'm a huge Phoebe fan, so I feel like I just have to see it. But I don't want to watch
Yeah.
it without watching the other ones. I don't know.
Yeah, I would highly recommend watching. You can skip 4, Chris, which is the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, but definitely the OGs. The original 3s are
Yeah, I need to
fantastic
watch the
movies.
OGs. I need to watch the OGs.
They're on Disney
And
Plus,
I
by the
still
way.
and I saw that, and I didn't even get to watch the Elemental yet. But people wasn't really gassing it, so I wasn't rushing out to see it. I
That
thought
was a
it'd be
good
a
one
little,
too. Kind of went on the radar. What about you? Now you
yeah.
got a chance to. I know you're a big movie fan. Any new stuff for you, man?
no, I did not go to the theater, but I caught Evil Dead Rises this morning.
Fire.
Uh, yeah, that was a fun watch. That was actually a pretty fun watch, and
I love that film, man. That opening is like iconic.
Yeah.
But
You were
speaking
talking
of,
about recently Mission Impossible, right? Recently?
yeah, I got a chance to see it last week. Still under embargo, but I got an out of theater reaction, and I was very much happy with a lot of the film. Some stuff that didn't work out entirely, but for the most part, if you're a fan of the franchise, Tom Cruise, regardless of how you feel speaking about art and artists and behind
Right.
the scenes stuff, putting that aside, the
Yeah, I
man
mean,
knows how to make blockbusters, and
Yeah.
yeah.
this is
There's
this
Yeah.
is
there's a
I
phenomenal.
lot
love Mission
more. There's a lot
Impossible.
worse people out there than Tom Cruise.
Yeah. But him as Ethan Hunt, he doesn't miss, man. So yeah, definitely, if you
Yeah.
guys haven't already, get your tickets for the new Mission Impossible because it is definitely worth your time. But speaking of worth and time, getting back into the discussion here, and again, guys, make sure you're hitting the thumbs up and leaving some thoughts on this episode in the comment section. We move over to, again, Tedros is, now he's been embarrassed yet again by Jocelyn, and this time in front of everyone. And, she's telling everyone who's going to be a part of the group and opening the show and all that. And then we see Tedros gives them his motivational speech and tells Xander that this is your time to shine, man. You need to go ahead and step up and all that. I don't know, man. Nan, how did you feel about the Xander and Tedros relationship? Because it started, I want to say episode 3, when they were on the balcony talking about, he gave him his idea about the photo and all that stuff. And then later in the
Right.
episode, they're at the dinner table and he's like, Xander, go, tell her how you feel. How did you feel about this relationship, man? Because I feel
And
like it was going somewhere, but then it ultimately just didn't go
It
anywhere.
was really weird.
Before you answer, Nine, like, can y'all also help me understand about the voice thing? Was that a made up thing, or was that a real thing that he had an issue with his throat, or was that
Nah, that was
just
a lie.
like a okay?
Yeah, I took it as a lie. I mean, now if you could put, I took it as
I think he was doing that so he could still ride with Jocelyn. And still being the entourage, and he actually did make that sacrifice to like not sing, so he wasn't going to be stepping in Jocelyn's light at all,
right?
And that could have been like a little bit of a sign that we've of a little bit of Jocelyn's darkness that we've that she had in her or whatever,
right?
Like how much
Ain't nobody gonna steal her limelight.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. But as far as getting it back and having like Tedros be the person to make him sing again or whatever, be comfortable with it. It was just a weird development because it seems like he really did believe in what Tedros was saying to him right there. And like, oh, you gotta grab it and take your chance. And he's like so loaded out and like not very intimidating like he was. Like, did you really forget just the last episode when he tied you down, my boy? Like, what's going on here?
That's so another one of my gripes with this show. Again, there's a lot probably left on the cutting room floor, but Chris, get your thoughts on it. Xander and Leia, to me, are two examples of characters that the show tried to create this somewhat of like a feel bad for these characters, but not really giving us on-screen reasons why to feel bad. We hear the stuff that Jocelyn or maybe they have been a part of the last few years, but a lot of that stuff is off the screen. So to see Xander being like, okay, I'm going to be Jocelyn's bitch for most of the show. Now I'm going to be on, Tedros' side. Now I'm going to be back on I don't know, man. How did you feel about this character and in particular the relationship between Xander and Tedros? Did you feel like it was something that was earned or just kind of very rushed?
The Xander thing, like I'm cool with the Leia story. I know there's always going to be not enough character development for everyone. There's not enough time for everyone. I'm fine with that. But the Xander shit made no sense. I haven't seen a scene that was more uncomfortable than that fucking taser thing or that neck collar thing in a while
last
on
week,
TV. And then we are supposed to assume that Isaac raped him.
I've been seeing that online. I must have totally missed that message because I just thought that he was pinned him down and was just. But I
think
guess
he just cleaned them, to be honest.
Yeah, I saw he peed his pants. He cleaned them early, but I didn't.
Yeah, but he cleaned them. Then wait, I thought that was like because he said you got to like pay your dues or something like that. Then turned him over after cleaning him. So I'll let the court of public opinion judge that. But I'm like, that scene was so crazy that it didn't make sense for him to come back. Like, number one, you're not a prisoner of that house. If that happened to me, of course, you're never seeing me again. I'm coming back with the feds, respectfully. Number two, like you didn't even make it where it was like enough for me to think, okay, I don't want to leave because they can do this for me. Like it
Right.
wasn't even like
Right.
you were promised, like, oh, you're gonna be on tour if you just fucking like
Exactly.
just live
Yeah.
here. So like that didn't make sense
Underdeveloped.
either. So I'm like the Xander thing, like none of that made sense to stick
Mm-hmm.
around and then set this dude Rob up that didn't even do nothing to you. Like, nah, like none of that made
It was
sense for me.
so weird.
Yeah, I think that again we'll talk about later here in a second, but just trying to line on Xander. I think it was supposed to represent just this whole idea of like Hollywood is like everyone's trying to get one over someone and everyone's trying to get their own no matter what it takes. But again, I don't feel like the whole Xander situation was handled in a way that it was built up for us to have like this type of, resentment towards the character or rooting for the character. It was honestly kind of thrown in episode 3 because he was non-existent for the first 2 episodes. And then all of a sudden now he has this photo that he took last week. And now he's the whole reveal that he used to be a singer and had to put his talents aside just to be friends with Jocelyn.
This fucking photo, man. Like also
Yeah.
like in what world, like if it's really Hollywood, like you would just send that girl to hook up with him and then just say, oh no, I wasn't consenting to that. Like some random photo with like some like just because you're like none of that made sense to be in like you're cut out of a movie from that.
Rushed, as I mentioned earlier, the whole cut in episode 5 and 6 potentially, if that rumor's to be true, that felt so out of field. I mean, listen, to be fair, we see articles all the time that come out of left field, like much deeper conversation. But like I think of not even just putting Jonathan Majors side, but like Tanak Puerta, the gentleman that played Namor, his whole situation that came out of left field. Obviously, there's a lot more to the story, but I'm just the example of like how one day, oh, I'm excited to see Namor, and the next, he's like not going to be. He's taking I think he's going to be taking time off to settle all this up. But I think to go back to what Chris said, I think the show is just trying to show us how like Hollywood, literally, they love you one minute, they can hate you the next. Same with Jocelyn. She's on top of the world and she's on the bottom. So maybe that's where they were going with Rob, but it felt very rushed to your point, Chris. Like that happened.
I needed
it's less than 24 hours. Yeah. That was literally less than 24 hours for that news cycle to hit the headlines, which again, that sometimes happens in Hollywood, I guess. But again, Jocelyn is the new cult leader. She's telling these kids that they're going to be opening the show for them. And this is, to me, I put in my notes, so sex sales was what I wrote down. And I'm gonna start with you, Chris. This whole scene of this I don't know what you want to call it, the clown show. Was it meant to be funny to you, or was it supposed to be a serious moment? I'm referring to the whole
when
talented.
When they were all singing, like
I thought that was so unnecessary. Not unnecessary, but I just found it to be very comedic and to be very kind of poorly handled, in my opinion. But that's just me. I'll get to my thoughts in a second. But what did you think about just that whole setup? Andrew's coming over. He says a line when he runs to Andrew or runs to Isaac. He looks like a hot Targaryen. To him singing, Ramsey singing, just that whole scene. And we'll talk about the little intercuts throughout that. But just, was it meant to be funny, Chris? Or was it supposed to be a serious moment?
I was watching it as a serious moment, but I thought it was a crazy moment. Like these guys are all crazy. Like their kids are young. They're like, they live wild, but like you're in a room of actual executives. Like these are like real grown-ups, like with good jobs. Like this is a real meeting. Like even if it's at your crib, like I thought it was insane that they were just enamored just because the fucking kids could sing and dance. Like, and it wasn't like it was the fucking Jackson 5 out there. Like you were just for the first time. Like these, like you guys are in the industry. Like people sing good for you every day. Like, and also, would they really be leading the tour like this? Like, these are no-namers, and you're talking about a pop star that's supposed to be Britney, Christina, and I'm gonna have the fucking Junkyard Gang.
I'm not a scout for talent.
Stadium.
It seems so fake and seems so. To be fair, there are sometimes we hear about these overnight celebrities or people that were just on their mom's couch and the next day they're buying $1 million homes. But it felt that's why I asked the question if it felt to me comedy, because it felt very fantastical and very comedy heavy to me. It was like, this is a joke, because I don't find any of these people to be serious people, and this whole situation just seems so weird to me. But now, did you take it to be a serious moment of like these artists who've been dealing with all the Tedros and shit now have their moment to shine, or did you, like me, thought it was very comedic?
I thought it was funny. I thought it was a funny moment. Not to say that I didn't like it per se, though, because we saw like a little bit of the breakdown of Tedros throughout the whole thing.
Yeah.
a little bit of a power struggle. And since the beginning, I've been saying like this show would be very. I thought it would be like a really good satire if it was just focused around the executive. Like if we were just getting a show with Destiny and
Right.
Andrew
Their perspective handling
Finkelstein
these
and just
wild.
handling
Yeah.
different. Yeah, I
Yep.
think that would be a bomb ass show if it was just kind of like going through different celebrities and idols or whatever. But yeah, what you said, fantastical, because wow, it's like that's really it. That's all you're going to need, and in 6 weeks you're selling out stadiums. Amazing. uh but
Yeah. The
dreams do
Jocelyn
come
Yeah.
song
true.
was fire though. I ain't gonna hold you. The performance was nuts. Like you
Yeah,
wouldn't
no,
do that to
listen, yeah,
a
there
headliner.
His
are,
The song
performance was
was crack.
nuts.
as you guys said, there are moments in this scene that I thought was like, okay, this is interesting, but I thought this scene to me perfectly summarizes the show. It's chaos. There are
Mm-hmm.
moments that are like, that's interesting, but then it's overshadowed by someone being goofy and like fumbling plots and fumbling like the whole so throughout this whole chaotic tour kind of talent show thing, they're mixing in, as Nine said, Tedros is kind of like, oh, these are my babies. They're taking my
Mm-hmm.
shine away. And then we got Destiny saying, I'm not gonna let the Hollywood system take them away. And it's all this is
Mm-hmm.
going on. Meanwhile, Chris, the whole Leia of the situation,
Oh my god.
Rob calls Leia because he's been trying to reach out to Josh the whole time. She's been ignoring his call. I will admit, because I talked about last week, the end of the episode, who are we supposed to think is setting up Rob? Is it Xander setting up for himself like an ace in a hole to play this to his advantage later on? Was it the favor that Tedros wanted him to do earlier in the episode? Or is it Jocelyn? Is she setting this up? So I will admit the show did a good job of making me think, oh, did Jocelyn set this up? But we'll talk
Mm-hmm.
about it. It was Tedros who set up Rob. But
Mm-hmm.
Chris, man, it was just like I said, this scene perfectly summarized the show where there are moments to be like, that's something interesting to kind of play around with, to kind of explore. But then we're cut off guard by Leia trying to get the attention of Xander, to get the attention of Jocelyn. We're cut off with the conversation with the executives of like, oh, I want to sign them. No, I want to sign them. It's so much going on, Chris, and I'm just
Mm-hmm.
like,
Yeah.
a kid on TikTok scrolling through. I can't because it keep my focus because there's so much going on. Like,
Right.
what's
Yeah.
happening right now?
Yeah, no, I do love chaos, so I'm not mad
Hey,
at
me
it.
too. I control chaos for me.
Chaos is
Control
allowed.
chaos.
Yeah, I was fine with the chaos of it, but yeah, the Rob thing really kind of bothered me, and Xander just flipping up like flipping like that. Like I'm like, what are you even doing here? Like you were assaulted, like
You're a
and you
victim.
like you could have like gone to the police for your own shit, not the fucking lie about Rob. You could have just got him hemmed up and you'd have been good anyway. I it was just crazy to me, and then just these executives, I'm just watching them. I'm just like, I guess it's like a look at Hollywood and just being like, maybe these people are idiots sometimes. Like when we think that just because they're
That's very
suits,
true, Chris. Yeah,
they got their shit together, but they're just like
they just
sitting
as
in
crazy
someone's
as a
living room
talent. Yeah,
watching this fucking Showtime at the Apollo act for amateurs.
broke American Idol. Yeah.
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah, no, it was definitely chaos, but I don't mind the chaos.
I don't mind chaos too, because like I said, I love control chaos. Whereas, and what I mean by that is like purposeful, strong storylines that all of it comes together. Like this is the finale, theoretically speaking. So all these plots are supposed to be like, again, going back to Succession. Whenever we had these characters in a room, it all came, what's going on with Shiv and Tom and everything with Rome, and it's all coming together. This to me played poorly because again, who cares about the Rob thing? That was literally brought up last week. Leia's she's literally the little kid at Thanksgiving trying to get her mom's attention to see, when the food's ready and no one's paying attention to her. Meanwhile, we're watching these executives, and I told you now, I'm not a big Eli Roth fan, but he was kind of funny throughout this because he's the only one that thought, like, to me, he was the only one reacting naturally, like, this is a shit show. What is going on? But Nan, I mean, how do you feel about this, man? Are you more kind of like with Chris saying that, yes, it's chaotic, but you were enjoying the madness, or you kind of leaning towards me where it's like, yeah, it's chaos, but there's no control to this chaos. There's no like interesting enough plots going on to make it all come to this, moment.
I actually thought the plots were interesting, and I'm going to say it was a funny, ridiculous scene, and it's just the things. This is where I think I may have felt most of like if this was going to be 2 episodes, this is where, I don't know, maybe they cut out a lot of things that led up to this, or maybe we like missed a day between episode 4 and episode 5, and that's why things are a little bit turning out the way they are, like these conversations are being had in that manner. But I think this moment right here
Mm-hmm.
uh with Jane,
Nikki.
I think,
Nikki and
right,
Tedros. Yeah,
right, that was like really unnecessary, because I don't get what her end game was there. Because this guy, she already knows that this guy has no like contracts. These people aren't signed.
yeah,
She would have recognized that, like, oh yeah, we can cut him out very easily,
right,
and we
right.
do not need to worry about that at all. And that's literally the decision that we see her make at the end of this whole scene. So it's like, yeah, what was any of that? Um, and I think with the Leia thing, it is, yeah, she went from being one of my favorite characters
To just a
throughout the series to just
fun
being like,
piece.
yeah, what the hell are you doing? You've already established that she seemed to be like really happy that like she's ditching Tedros and like really slamming it in Tedros's face. So she should be pretty comfortable with being like, hey, Rob is getting accused. You want to talk about this?
Yeah.
Just for like, just give me 1 second to like say this line to you.
Yeah.
And she didn't. I was like, come on, just grow a spine just for 1 second here.
To that point, now I think that should have been her moment, right? Again,
Mm-hmm.
I know, like Chris said, there's so many characters and there's obviously only so much screen time that each of them have, but she has been a day one episode character that has been pretty much shitted on the whole series,
Yeah.
whether it's Tedros in the back seat eating his girl out in front of her, whether it's Tedros telling her to shut up, calling her all types of names. This
The
should have been
square
the
at the
moment.
pool party with
The
with
pool
the
party,
liquor.
embarrassing her
Even
like 4 times
Xander even
that
told her to
episode.
shut the fuck up
Xander, yes,
this episode. I
this
was
was
like,
the
damn,
moment
that's
that Leia, and also too, the actress is probably the most famous of all of these people in the show. If I'm being honest with you, she's had a, Shiva baby. She's bodies, bodies,
Bodies,
bodies.
bodies,
She'll be
bodies.
in Bottoms later this year. Like she's the most popular actress in this entire show. For her to just be kind of thrown to the wolves or just thrown to the backside to me was ridiculous. But again, this should have been Leia's moment. She should have said, you know what, Jocelyn, F you, F Xander, Tedros, this whole situation, that should have been her moment. But it was just, again, her just being a little kid, being like, hey, it just, I don't know, it just felt kind of silly to me. And again, it plays into this whole scene. It's just like, who are we supposed to be focusing on right now? Whose moment is it to shine? It was just too much for me. And it just didn't really play out. But Chris, I want to go back to you because I think the one thing that did stand out to me was seeing Jocelyn, again, going back to episode 1, not being able to hit her marks during the rehearsal. Episode 2, crying and saying her mom's name. She's doing the video shoot. Now she's hitting the marks because this is who she's done all this stuff to build her confidence up to hit the marks. Last time Andrew was over there, she embarrassed herself, but now he's over here and she has full control over the situation. And speak on it, Chris, man. Like, I know, if I'm not mistaken, did you go to a Janet Jackson concert a couple weeks ago?
Hell yeah.
Okay, that's what I thought I remember seeing. Shout out to the icon. But
Hell
I
yeah.
bring Janet Jackson up is because obviously she's a goddess and just one of the greatest performances of all time. And not comparing Jocelyn to her, but I'm just saying, as far as the moment to shine, this is Jocelyn's moment to shine and kind of have her Janet moment in front of the executives to prove that she is still in this fictional world. She is still the idol.
Yeah.
mm-hmm.
I mean, that's pretty much it. But it's still like those moments that you mentioned, the mom shout outs and the breakdowns, like those, are we to assume that those were not real moments? Like I thought that those were really happening because then if they're not, then it's just, then the show gets to me a little out of
That's
control.
ridiculous. Yeah.
Like she's going to those lengths of
yeah. Because then there would be some sort of cheesy flashback where they're just like, explaining like this is or a different angle or this. I think those were real moments. But again, like it just doesn't tie up at the end where she's still around him. If she really kicked him to the curb, I think this would have made a lot more sense. But maybe Sam is not trying to make sense. Maybe that's not his goal, to make sense. Maybe he just wants to make stuff, which is
Just
fine too.
make stuff that just,
Yeah,
Christopher Nolan said for Tenet, don't think about what's going on, just feel what's going on.
yeah.
Don't
We
pay
was feeling
attention
some
to it.
things.
We
We
was
were
feeling
feeling.
something.
Yeah,
Nah, your thoughts on this whole situation again, with her actually stepping up, doing her moment. And again, I have it on the screen here. I just can't get over the Xander reveal, because again, they set it up where Leia goes to him and she finally gets his attention, and we got the security guard getting in the
Mhm.
way, but she finally gets to Xander, and then he says to her, well, you never know what someone's capable of. Like, again, your thoughts on that, Nine, and also just your thoughts on, like I
And
said,
it's like,
Jocelyn finally getting the confidence to do what she's like born to do, which is again be the idol.
yeah, I mean, that's the thing with, well, she really has no words for Jocelyn, because like she literally does not then speak with Jocelyn at all. Leaves
yeah.
Yeah,
a
she just
letter on
grabs
the
her stuff
bed.
and leaves.
So it's
Yeah.
just like, what are you doing here? You're gonna trust all of these other people before you even talk to Jocelyn, when you already know that she's not fucking with Tedros anymore. It was just really weird. And the fact that Jocelyn is getting her moment per se, uh whoops, she the thing about like crafting an anti-hero story, if that's what like Sam Levinson was going to do here, where we kind of like figure out more about Jocelyn's more manipulative ways and that she just wants to be a pimp too, um then you gotta flesh that out a little bit more before we are rooting for that person to have their moment, right?
Yeah.
Like, even with
Yeah.
like, I mean, like the best like anti-hero story show ever is like Breaking Bad, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Like, we gotta really understand where Walter White's coming from when he becomes Heisenberg, right? And we don't really get that in this for Jocelyn here.
Yeah.
And back
Because I
to
mean,
Leia. Go
yeah,
ahead.
no, go ahead, bro. Go talk about Leia, because I mean, there's not much after to talk about with her, because like Nine said, she's pretty much just like leaves and doesn't have a moment. But what was you gonna say, Chris?
Yeah, just real quick, I just think because Leia, it's like, then just don't make her the best friend and the assistant. Just make her the assistant, because
One
like
or the other. Yep.
if you're really a best friend, you really would know how your friend moves. Because
Yeah.
you're like why would you act like this? Why are you doing this? Why are you hanging with him? Like, he's rapey. Like,
Yeah.
then she would know, like, oh, she's doing her thing again. Like, she's just using this guy. Like, just don't make her the best friend.
Exactly. Let us know in the chat, guys, how you felt about Leia. Because again, I think that character was. I thought it was gonna. I think I said weeks ago. I feel like she was gonna be the one that's gonna kill Tedros and have her moment to shine. But ultimately, like Nine
Yeah,
said, she just kind of leaves. Which, respectfully, she's the adult in the room. Like, I guess she didn't have to,
yeah,
pull Jocelyn down to make herself feel better. She just left this. She should have left weeks ago, probably years ago, if all this is to believe about how Jocelyn's been treated her whole life, whatever. But yeah, shout out to Leia. She was the adult in the room the whole time, I guess. But to get your thoughts on this, Chris, to go back to it, man, as far as the big moment, I guess, from last week, what was the photo supposed to be? The plot twist of the photo. We find out again, they set it up like it was almost posing it as it was Jocelyn setting up the photo. We come to find out that it was Tedros who had Xander take the photo of Rob with the girl, and the girl says that she was sexually assaulted by him, and now he's losing. They're reading the article. Say who you will, fill in the blank. Is it a Jonathan Major situation that we're currently watching right now? Is it a Ezra Miller situation that we're watching right now? Is it a million other celebrities in the history of Hollywood that's been
yeah.
accused of certain things, both found guilty and both found to be innocent? The moment, did it work for you, Chris? Because ultimately Tedros gets his one last kind of moment to kind of get back at Jocelyn and make she cries
Yeah.
briefly. Did that moment, was there anything that stood out to you? Did it work? Did you feel the impact of Tedros like ultimately still getting one last laugh?
I don't. This seemed to me like, and I'm not trying to understand Sam again, but this seemed to me one of those things where he just wanted to make that statement about like people getting canceled and Hollywood jumping to like,
conclusions
so he
without the
kind
full
of just
facts.
squeezed this circle into the square, however that expression goes, or the square thing into the circle peg or whatever.
Yeah.
I just felt like he wanted to make that statement, and he's like, "This is
Yeah.
how we're gonna do it. We're gonna use Rob." And then I'm sure the other writers were like, "Wait, Rob? Wait, who's Rob? Wait, why is Rob in the
Right,
show
who?
again?" And he's like, "No, because he's gonna get canceled by Hollywood." And they're like,
Yeah.
"All right, whatever." So like, it didn't make sense for me, and like it wasn't fleshed out, and I just feel like he was just trying to just say that, like just use that one to make that statement, and then not have it make real sense.
That goes back to my issue, Chris. I totally agree with you too, man. That's my issue with this finale and just kind of in general this show. There's so much that I think Sam, and again, if the rumors are to be true, that he kind of came in to reshoot the entire show and to fill in the blanks essentially.
Who was the first director?
Amy Schmetz was the first director, if I'm not mistaken.
What is she?
She's an actress turned director. She's been in a lot of stuff. And I say that I can't think of anything off top, but I did see one of her feature films a couple years ago. It was like a horror movie. She's a good, and also she did. There was a show on Showtime with Elvis Presley granddaughter in it. Chloe, or not Chloe, but what is her name? Is a show on. Help me out in the chat, guys. It was a show on Showtime called. It was a show about like sex workers. And the name's on the tip of my tongue. It's like, gosh, brain fart like a mofo. I'm gonna look it up in a second. But anyway, she's a talented individual to say the least. But she got away from the project. Sam came in and made it his own show. And I applaud him for trying to make it work. Riley Keough. Yes, Riley Keough. Thank you, guys. She's a great actress. Elvis Presley's granddaughter, if I'm not mistaken. But this, Chris, it's like, dude, this scene here was supposed to be kind of more impactful, supposed to hit more of a moment for the character. But I don't know, it just fell flat for me, Chris, in this moment where she finds out that Tedros played her again after having had played her to set up the whole scenario. But it didn't hit, man. It didn't hit. It was so much going on.
Because it didn't make it like if they wanted to make it hit, they would have to assume or show that Rob is now in the picture and they are dating or trying to get back together.
Exactly.
So then the case or the charge makes a rift between them. But you already dismissed Rob, so we don't care about Rob anymore.
Exactly, bro.
It was,
And what you just said, I thought it was going to be like, oh, now because they almost made it seem like, oh, this is going to mess up her tour momentum, and it was going to kind of mess up her situation, her having this comeback, but it didn't affect her at all. Now, because especially if we're supposed to believe that she, like you just said, if they would have made it seem like last week, her and Rob were like, yes, we're getting back together. I loved you. We made a mistake. Let's make it happen again. But she just used him for sex. Like, she didn't really love him, care for him. So that whole Rob plot, cancel Rob, was kind of silly. And especially her reaction here, it would have worked for me, Chris, if she would have smiled. If she would have been like, I don't give a what? You think that I care? But the fact that she cried, I don't know if it even speaks to Rob or if it just speaks to like this MFer is still trying to get, I don't know. I feel like this tear that we see right here from her didn't really work for me on a lot of different levels, especially from the show's kind of building up. And to go back on what I was trying to remember, yes, The Girlfriend Experience was the name of the show I was trying to remember, Chris. It was on Showtime, and it was a show about, like I said, sex workers. And Amy Schmetz was the one who directed. I don't know if she created the show, but I know she was heavily involved in directing several episodes. So, man, don't you hate that, Chris, when you just have an ultimate brain fart? You see the name, it's right on tip of your tongue, and it just every day, bro. It never fails. It never fails. But
I just be thinking of like brain farts, and then like when like if it was like the 80s and you just like couldn't Google that shit, you just
right. It's like, well, you just stuck forever. You're permanently that person.
Ask everyone you know, or just move to Hollywood and just
at night, and you're sleeping like, man, that one time that I couldn't remember that actor. Yeah. That's scary. That's your horror movie, Chris. You should pitch that as a movie, like people that didn't have technology, and it's like this demon or like this, they're stuck and they can't figure it out. It's called Caught on the Tip of Your Tongue, and it's like people can't remember things, say things, and it like kills them. Because Chris, we're
gonna be rich.
We're gonna be rich. Y'all heard it here first. A24 coming out next year. It's called Tip of My Tongue. It's a great horror psychological thriller. You heard
obviously
it.
Jordan Peele, executive producer.
Jordan Peele. And Sam Levinson is going to be directing it, by the way.
Yeah, for the sex scenes.
For just the sex scenes.
Yeah.
Oh man, Chris, I don't know what happened to Nine, man. I think the cult caught him, bro. I think the cult
Yeah, bro. No,
Tedros came. It was
listen,
too much.
they caught
They
the wrong photo. He took
the
a
wrong
picture with a
photo of
girl with a
Nine.
bikini on.
Yep, they caught him. Nah,
He's
he
doing
just
25 to life.
he just texted me. He said he has some internet issues, so hopefully he'll be back to join us to wrap up this conversation in this show. But
Nice.
speaking of the show and everyone in the chat, man, I want to see what they're talking about, Chris, because I know they were.
They
Let me
talk
see.
about they want to watch Tip of My Tongue, of course. What you thought?
Do y'all want to listen, man? Listen, Chris. Okay, y'all want to see this? Oh, listen, me and Chris, y'all heard it here. You know, I didn't want to let the cat out the bag, but Chris, I mean, it's out there, man. We making a movie, y'all.
We just manifested it.
Yeah. Tip of My Tongue, A24, Sam Levinson, directing it, starring Zendaya and I don't know who was the other lead we were talking about, Chris. I couldn't remember who's on the call sheet.
Who do we like? We like Zendaya, of course.
Yeah. I know we were thinking about casting The Weeknd, Abel, just see if he wants
to. But then after this, we were like, no, thank you. But we do like Lily.
We do like Lily.
Lily.
She can co-star in there for sure.
Yeah. It'll be like a bodies type movie where it's just like maybe like no, like you can't use the internet, and it's just like who can survive.
Oh, Pete Davidson. Yeah, we can get Pete in the mix. I don't know if y'all fans of his. Yeah, man. But let me see, man. What is everyone? Y'all want to see the movie? We're gonna make it happen, man. Dominique Fishback.
Dominique Fishback, yeah, she could be in it.
Let's do it. Oh, speaking of, did you see
I want
Swarm?
Janelle Monáe and everything. No, I didn't. I was just talking about Swarm. You know what I just started? I only watched the first episode of the first season. I just started.
Tell me.
The Bear.
Bro, almost spit out my water. Yes.
I know.
Yes. That is so you just saw season 1 or you're season 2?
No, like I'm just like in the beginning season 1. Like I just watched. I finished like the first episode. Like
Chris, enjoy, savor it like a fine wine or like in this show. Take
like
your
nice
time.
Dish.
Full course meal. It is a fantastic show, Chris. And when you get to season 2, my friend, peak television. Peak television, bro.
I need that.
Unlike this show. But yeah, The Bear is great, man. I love that show to pieces, bro.
Just got on that.
Yeah, man. It is great, bro. I'm glad you're catching on to that, man. It's a fantastic show. But let's get back into it, man. I don't know if Nine's going to be able to join us back to wrap up the episode. But as we kind of pivot over to Jocelyn has her moment to shine. She has her even though her, I don't even know what we call Tedros at this point, her mentor, boyfriend, I don't even know their labels at this point, but yeah, she's able to.
This is a terrible freeze.
I had to put it up there, man, because it just reminds us of the rat tail.
Jesus.
We get the moment of the photo. She has a moment to collect herself. She tells Haim to get him out of my life. I don't care what the number is, which to me also is, I don't want to say a plot hole, but it's like, then a couple weeks ago, you said that number one, that he's been paying her mortgage, paying all this money. Where is he getting this money from is the question I have, but that's another show for another day. But if
Tedros takes the money, how do I fucking prove that he comes back? Like, he doesn't come back. Like, there's no contract. Like, I could just take your money and then still be annoying as fuck on Wednesday.
Which, by the way, ultimately ended up being the case because he got back on her life. So it was just a wasted check on his end. We see that Tedros is told by Haim he tells him this whole story of big bad wolf, and he's the hunter. This, that, and the other.
I like that little monologue.
It was okay. It went on too long because I was more focused on like, okay, Jocelyn getting her moments because she goes off on the side, takes her shoes off because she has to collect herself, and she puts on the show to make Andrew, okay, yes, we're gonna go ahead and put her on tour and move forward with all that. Well, I guess to backtrack. So let me know, Chris, you like that monologue and that whole situation and how that whole thing played out?
I like that monologue. I like that character. Because I'm hating this guy the whole season, The Weeknd. So I'm like, someone just talk to this dude like serious, like enough. I'm like, enough is enough, because y'all really let him come into the house and fire people that he didn't even hire. Like, finally someone is talking to this dude like the scum that he is.
Like, the game's over, bro. The
enough up with this. Yeah, so I was like all for it. Like, show me show me that you got people in your corner that really like ride for you.
Welcome back, Nine. I don't know if you got a
Oh,
chance to hear the pitch that we have for a great movie. If not, we'll pitch it to you. We
oh, I
want
got
you in
one
on the
already. I
mix.
got a script on the way. It's called Tip
Okay,
of the Tongue. You guys can't
Oh,
steal my
nice.
idea though.
let's go.
Dang.
You can't steal
You
that
got
idea.
us. You got us.
I'll
But
sue.
jumping back in, what did you think about this whole monologue, wolf story for Jocelyn to ultimately come up again, do her moment? But just in particularly going back to what Chris was saying about again Tedros yet again being kind of broken down by another character in the show.
This was gangster by Kim. Because yeah, that I'm the hunter. I was like, ooh,
Yeah, yeah,
okay, he's really about that. You already know he has that strap in the car too.
he does.
So,
Keep that shit on you.
um, but yeah, just another little dig into the heart of Tedros. Gotta
Yeah,
love
yeah.
that. And he's sweaty in that.
Sweaty and he probably smelled like
He's smelling himself. I was like,
oof.
oh man, you couldn't take a shower before you had the meeting. You didn't have time to
Nah,
just hop
bro.
in real quick.
Nah,
I
no
don't know.
times
That was
for
crazy.
showers.
Jocelyn praying for over him. I don't even know what that was about really, because like if we had like some type of um like scene with her praying before, has that happened in the show or?
It's not that she was praying before, but when she was being interviewed by Vanity Fair, she says she only fears God. So there was like some
Yeah,
level of like her faith
there's someone
based in
higher.
her.
Yeah,
Okay. All
I
right.
guess.
Well, I
Yeah,
don't know if
good
that's
call.
enough.
Good call.
No, it ain't. It ain't. I'm just telling you where it came from.
Right. Now it's a good
Yeah.
and not to cut you off now, but to go
Yeah.
back to your point of like building to this scene, it's another example of like, okay, why are you praying? This is Tedros. This isn't Suge Knight. Why are they act? This is again my inconsistency.
Yeah.
They show his cult leader or followers don't give a damn about him anymore, but
Yeah.
yet they're like so scared to get. Why are you offering him money to get out of your life?
Mm-hmm.
He's a nobody.
Mm-hmm.
Get him out of here.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even
Yeah.
understand why they were building him up to be this
Besides
big, bad,
torturing,
scary guy.
Xander, which they would have known about probably.
Yes.
They didn't show him doing anything scary where they'd be like, all right, we can't fuck with this guy normal. We gotta
Right.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Great point. Yes, excellent point.
I mean, he's threatening people in the store of stomp people in the streets, and
If
Right.
that wasn't the
and
worst scene of the whole show,
he slapped the nutrition. Like they're showing that he does all these moments,
Yeah.
but at the end of the day, he's a punk.
Right,
I don't know.
right.
It was ridiculous to me now that they're making it seem like, okay, please God, make him get out of here. It's like, come on, man. This isn't, like I said, this isn't Suge Knight. This isn't freaking Ike Turner. Like this is
Right.
Tedros. Like this,
Right.
I don't know. The show is just kind of at this point. I'm
Same.
like, this is
Hunter
this is
Biden's
silly.
house. This is the Weeknd's house.
Exactly.
Or whatever it is.
It was odd. It was too much
very
hype
strange.
for a little man.
Very strange. I don't know, like taking it for 500K.
500K 9.
The funny thing is he could have taken the money and then Jocelyn would have still invited him back.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. But I will say I've been poo-pooing on this scene. I didn't like it. Like I said, I know you guys are pointing out some good points, and I agree with you. I still didn't like the scene. But I did, going back to just knowing that she's an actress who had to learn how to sing and dance for the purpose of this show. I thought that Jocelyn did her thing in this scene here, this performance of like, being a doll girl and listening to all the commands and all that. It was a nice little
it's worth a rewatch for that one song alone. She was saying some things.
She was, man, and she was singing and dancing at the same time. Which again, I know she's not a real singer or dancer in real life, so I don't know, Chris, man. Again, I know we talked about it earlier, but just to elaborate on it, her having her moment to shine and really kind of sticking the landing. She did her thing, bro. She did her thing.
She definitely did her thing. I said it right away. But yeah, go ahead.
To be honest, thought it was mid.
Nah, that's crazy.
Thought it was
really. You thought it was mid? Would care to elaborate? You thought she should have maybe did a couple more Sierra meets I don't know.
I don't know. Like I can definitely appreciate it, but like I just wasn't really feeling the song that much, I guess. And I was just like, all right, let's just kind of like
let's move on
here.
I got you, bro. I disagree now. I thought she was hitting those marks, bro. She was hitting the marks. She was doing she had Eli Roth about to, make a Cabin and Fever Part 3. He was, getting hot and bothered with her dance moves. I thought she killed it. I thought she did her thing.
Oh,
I thought
she
she did her
wasn't
thing.
Voyagers. Oh my god,
She was. You saw that movie, Chris? I've been talking about it for
bro.
you. Have you?
I
Tyler,
love Voyagers, bro. I don't love it, but
you
I like
love
it a
that
lot.
movie?
I like that movie a lot, man.
You
That
don't
shit
have
was.
to. That movie was whack, bro.
And we
Are
talked
we talking
about
about
this
the same
before.
movie when they were in space and the
Yeah, of
kids is like
course,
a?
yeah. That's such a
Um,
good idea. It's such a good concept.
oh
It wasn't
man, this
executed great,
guy's.
but it was like, bro, it was like Lord of the Flies in
It was
space.
like Lord of the
That's fucking
Flies,
epic.
but the Walmart edition that you would find in a $5 bin. Yeah.
Bro, let me tell you about Voyager, bro. This is like prime pandemic when this is the first movie I was allowed to see when the theaters opened back up. So I felt I got a special place for it.
Yeah.
But
So
it's like,
Citizen Kane when you saw it,
yeah, and I love my space movies, man.
bro.
I was like,
Nan,
damn,
have you seen this film
that's
we're
how I
talking
know
about? By
her.
the way,
I'm looking at it right now, and it does look
it's
kind of like
bad.
straight to
Don't
DVD.
listen. I love Chris's opinions. Taste
And
take is fire.
Quintessa.
Fantastic
Yeah.
reviewer. Listen, Chris, that movie was
Mhm.
garbage. I will give you
Listen.
this. It is a good premise, and it was
It's a great
good for the
idea, and it's
beginning.
unique. People always they complain that everything's a remake and a sequel. It's like that's a new, cute little idea.
Cute.
Recreating society. Come on,
Okay.
man.
All right. Listen, guys, we'll be back next
Yeah.
week to break down a full breakdown of
Yeah,
Voyagers
we're doing a
with my
Voyager.
man
I need to do
Taste
a
Take.
Voyagers watch back. That
Oh
shit.
man, watch party.
And
Yeah.
Quintessa was in it too. How did I forget?
It's a lot of talented people, but just not a talented film.
Is she good in it? Is she good in this?
She stood out. She was one of the only shining parts because I thought, help me out, Chris. What's the man's name? Cyclops Taylor Sheridan. Is that his name?
Oh yeah,
Ty
his name is
Sheridan.
Ty Sheridan.
Ty Sheridan.
Yeah.
I didn't really. He. When I first saw that kid in, I think it was Mud with Matthew McConaughey. I'm like, yo, that kid got acting chops.
No.
I haven't seen him in anything good since. Like, I think he's a terrible Cyclops. I think wasn't good in that film, Voyagers. I don't know. His career is kind of tanked.
He really was not a good Cyclops.
Terrible.
It's
Terrible.
got Quintessa Swindle. She was
Quintessa from the Black Adam.
Black Adam, yeah.
Listen, guys, we'll have a full discussion on Voyagers, and since we got to fill the void with the speaking of the show, with this missing now. But again, so she has her moment to shine. Andrew says, "Okay, I'm gonna go. You proved it to me. You're gonna have the tour. I'm all aboard." Meanwhile, we see finally someone's dragging him out of the house, but I'm like, "Oh, they're dragging him out of the house. They're gonna throw him outside. He's gonna have to get an Uber." But then they just bring him to a car for him to rip up a check. I'm just like, yo, this is ridiculous, man. Y'all acting like this dude actually has actual power. But he says that Jocelyn's worth more than money, which, again, I don't know if that's the seed being planted that he was going to somehow, some way make his way back into his life as he ultimately does. And Chris, this screenshot is for you because, man, I don't know what's worse. Seeing clips or seeing this man sweat like that, man. Listen, man. The weekday, he's sweating, y'all. He's doing his thing, man. This is
the long weekend.
Method acting. Yeah. Sweating out all his talent. But this is the moment where things is I was already kind of off put by that scene that we just talked about, minus a couple moments to shine, but we see Leia leaves. As Nine mentioned, she leaves a note. We don't know what the letter says, which is another just like they forgot about Leia or it just didn't really matter what she said in the letter. I would assume she said, I still love you. We still have a business together. I'll still be your friend, but you're just toxic and I need you to.
Jocelyn threw that shit away.
She threw it away, right?
She's like, shut the fuck up, Leia.
Right. Pretty much. That's, oh my goodness. You just, why even have her in the show if y'all just don't even give her closure at all? We don't even get to see the letter. We don't have like the classic TV moment where the character is reading the letter and it's like the voiceover of the actual person that wrote it. We didn't even get that for Leia.
Or something, yeah.
Nine. Chris, do we need a spinoff of Leia's Revenge? Her going on tour, having her own concert with Isaac.
Listen,
is that the next spinoff, Chris?
I'm really just happy that when she had to tell Jocelyn something, it wasn't that Isaac got her pregnant. I'm like, this is not what I need to see. That was the first thing I thought. I was like, oh no, please, girl, don't do that.
Oh man, that would have been more exciting, I guess, than ultimately what ended up happening. That's funny. Now, do you think we need a spinoff with Leia just to come on full revenge?
She went back to New York or something.
Yeah, she went back to New York. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we're fine on that.
So pointless. But and speaking of pointless, I know there's a lot of K-pop fans out there that was like, the only reason I'm watching this is for Diana, which I can't think of the actress or the person's
Jenny.
name in real life. Is it Jamie something? Can't think of it. But the actress that played Diana is part of a K-pop band. It's like a global
Yeah,
sensation.
Pink something.
Blackpink.
Blackpink.
Oh, yes.
I hope Blackpink fans are okay because my goodness, the actress and the character Diana was completely. This is again feels like another rewrite or like they gave her something to be interesting, but then they just completely just
It was the more
fumbled
interesting
it.
story.
Yes,
It was the more
I'm
interesting
going to
story.
toss it to you, Nine. We go to the scene with Diana. We have her talking to Nikki. She says the record's getting cut. She ultimately cuts her. She says, "Oh, write a song about it." And yeah, that's pretty much the end of that. They've been building Nine since episode 1. And this is where I say the show is just so chaotic. The whole idea of like this background singer who is almost going to take the limelight from the actual star. That bag was fumbled so hard, Nine. It was just like, my goodness, waste of screen time, waste of not from the actress. I thought she did as good as she could from what she was given.
What she had.
But my goodness, that was just such a waste of a plot at all. Nine, your thoughts on that whole Diana
it was ridiculous.
thing?
And I know I wasn't here last week, but when she went last week to sign that record deal, I was just like, you're not going to bring a lawyer with you? You're not going to have your own little counsel or anything?
I thought the same thing.
Nothing.
Be
just taking their word
all
for
of
it.
These snakes, dude.
Yep.
And when she's like, you were going to offer me the best legal team, I was like, you can't trust the people that are going to be providing you the legal team to like have your back legally.
Like, and especially knowing how you got to be in that position, like they won't do it again to like just flip it on you.
Yeah, it's insane. But it would have been, I think, a more interesting show if this was the Idol. Like, let's say Lily Rose Depp was playing was playing this character, and then like episode 2, that's when they overthrow whatever Jocelyn is in now, and it's more of like, it would be a lot more interesting if there was a mix of those dynamics in there.
And using Tedros to try to get her to overthrow, to get her back on top.
Exactly. And then when she's like more on top, then she starts like, sympathizing for Jocelyn, who she overthrew, or like having in conflict. It would have been a lot more interesting.
It almost
would have been out of the Weeknd's house for at least one episode.
Nah, look, man, they said the Weeknd said, "Hey, y'all, I'm an executive producer. I'm also trying to sell my house on Zillow. If we could just have 99% of the show take place in my house, that would be fantastic. Let's do this.
Really show it off.
That house
really show it.
That house. The house was a star. I didn't look at the credits. Did it say who the house? Did they give the credit to the house?
I want the door. That door was so far.
The door. Listen, the balcony, the door, the pool. I mean, it's a Tony Stark type of house, y'all. But
definitely Starky.
Very Starky, but unfortunately, the talent inside of the house, not so much. At least in the show. I'm not going to say that the Weeknd's a talented individual, but he got a long way for the acting. But Chris, man, what did you feel about Diana? Like me and Nine, you feel like there was something. Again, there is something there. There is something there with this character, but I just think they either forgot about it or again rewrites, put in all the pieces of the puzzle. She was one of those things that kind of got cut from the main script. Her, Leia, Xander, all those secondary characters with interesting motives, interesting plots end up just going nowhere.
No, I thought it could have been interesting. I didn't understand having her in this last episode at all because I didn't understand what happened to her, and it just didn't make any sense. And then it's like, what's the point of you having? But maybe it was last week or 2 weeks ago where she was like, "Hey, like they want to give me the song, but I wanted to ask you first." Like
last week,
why would you waste the conflict? Like just take it and then have her figure it out later, and then there's beef. Or like, what's the point of you being nice about it if then we don't follow up with nothing else? Like, what's the point?
Because that scene that you're talking about, Chris, almost makes it seem like she feels bad.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, I don't even like when she went up to Jocelyn saying, "I want your blessing." Like you already know she took the offer. She didn't wait for her to say, "Oh yeah," like she already said yes to it. Not to cut you off, but I'm like this whole scene with her, good girl, bad girl, working with Tedros, it was just completely lost in translation.
Literally.
And I guess what's like really interesting to me is that World Class Sinner is like Jocelyn doesn't want that song in the first place.
Yeah.
Like
The original.
it's like it's
Yeah.
almost agreed upon. And then all of these other people, they're willing to sign on and get, on stage as Jocelyn, but you already like shot this whole music video for this, uh, uh, for what's your name,
Diana.
Diane. Uh,
Yeah.
like, wouldn't it just make sense to just like also just have her be a star? I know that like Jocelyn did get in the way of it, or that's what's implied for it
Right.
to
She said,
be.
Austin, do this.
Right,
Yeah.
like, okay, we want Diana, but that is just like such a weird thing for even Jocelyn to do.
I mean, it is almost kind of like, and again, they didn't build it up to like this get back moment, but it is like to the point of the little bit of narrative. It's her moment to get back at the girl who was ultimately the one that's trying to get her set up and all that. But it fell flat for me because, yeah, it was just like, it almost would have been beneficial for Jocelyn just to use her. Hey, get on stage, make my tour even more bigger. I'm going to take a percentage of your single,
Right.
and to take some agency back from that. But she just ultimately just was like, I don't know, it fell flat.
I'm just taking it in full context because then that means you introduce me to the love of my life that I'm going to have on. Like, what malice do I actually have towards you then?
Towards you, yeah.
If I was like the most honest person, I told you what was going on in front. Ask for your blessing. You don't want this song anymore. So why do you care?
Exactly. And the same, I mean, to that point too, now, like,
for no reason.
She forgave, well, assuming she forgave Xander for betraying her.
Exactly.
Why not do the same? And again, I understand there's a lot more history with Xander and Jocelyn compared to these two, but it's just like, why even have this kind of malice towards her? Because, like Nan said, Chris, in a weird way, if it wasn't for Diane, she would have never met Tedros, and if it wasn't for meeting Tedros, she wouldn't be maybe having this tour and get out of her funk. So it was almost like, maybe in a sick way, I owe you in a certain extent, but I'm going to have you work for me and manipulate you like I do everyone else. So any last thoughts, Chris, on this character and how ultimately it came to be? And I don't know, shout out to the background actors. I would love to be in that elevator. Just like, you ever wonder, Chris, where like these actors are saying to each other, like, are they actually saying lines? Are they making up plots for their characters? Like this girl with the ponytail is telling the black guy about this episode, and I'm going on a tangent.
I hope she's asking him out. That's all I want them. I want them to just be making plans. Like, what you got this? That's what I want to be happening.
You like sushi?
You like sushi? And by the way, shout out to I think he's a black guy. It looks like a black guy.
Nah, well, yeah, I remember from the episode he was like to.
Okay, I was going to say, do they even show the face? Because can you imagine being a background
They do show
actor?
the face, and he's just kind of like, they don't want to pay these niggas because
right. That's what I'm saying. Like, can you imagine? Like, hey, mom, I'm going to be on the Idol on HBO on Sunday. Like, check it out, and then you don't even see their face.
No, that's when you don't tell anyone. Like, yo, were you on the Idol? Yeah. Look,
no.
We
the
just
Idol.
We showed.
Yeah, no.
I might be. I'll be doing a lot of work, so I might have been on it, but I might not.
But they have been casting a new movie called, The Tip of the Tongue. So, you can shout that out. Yeah. So, but
that's how they got their start.
That's exactly. But let us know in the chat how y'all felt about Diane and how they ended the character story. And yes, you're so right, Chris. I just want to give I want to give the brother props, man. Like, listen, he told everyone he was going to be in the finale of, you asked Sam Levinson at Cannes a couple months ago, Chris and I, and the media asked him, talk about the controversy of the show and this, that, and the other. And he said a very famous line. It's a meme now. He feels like this is going to be the most talked about show of the summer. So to bring it back home, the guy whose face was covered, now he's on the most talked about show of the summer. So shout out to that actor, man.
Do you think that it will be?
What else? Yeah, Secret Invasion is pretty good right now.
But that show is not even getting watched. It's like the lowest viewership since like Miss Marvel.
Really?
She-Hulk. Yeah, the viewership numbers came out for Secret Invasion. It is not good. I think people right now are just like superhero anything. They don't give a F about right now.
I know we're not here to talk about it, but maybe I wasn't in the right state of mind. But episode 1 just caught me asleep. I'm like,
it was lacking. No, I admit. Okay, episode 2 is a lot better.
Maybe I gotta be. I was like, I'm not here yet.
Episode 2 is a lot better for me. There's moments in episode 1, but I agree with you, Chris. It was a little bit lacking.
I don't like this yet.
Yeah, but episode 2 is where it's at.
Yeah, I didn't get to 2. I'm gonna check 2, and then
Yeah.
we'll see.
Yeah.
How many total of they doing of that? They're doing
6 of
9.
them
No, they're
things.
doing
Nah,
6. Yeah,
only six. Only
yeah.
six.
Maybe
Which
five. Who
is
knows? During
maybe
this
Oh,
right with
nice,
the
nice,
climate,
nice, nice,
yeah,
nice,
they're
nice.
just
with
gonna
the
cut it.
Hell
viewership
yeah.
views.
Yeah.
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 Good point. But wrapping this thing up, gentlemen, and again, guys, for all 200 and what do we got?
61.
263, y'all, man. This is
Oh,
dope, man.
hell
I
yeah, I'm
appreciate
behind.
y'all joining us tonight. Let me just see how many
Fine.
likes we got because if we can get more likes, that'd be greatly appreciated. We're at 263 with only 141. Hey, can we get 200 likes? Myself
200 likes is
and
That'd be good.
Jocelyn
reasonable.
and the crew would really appreciate
Yeah.
that. But more
Let's say you're
importantly,
washing your dishes right now. You're just
yeah, just
listening
take a
to us.
pause,
Yeah, wash off your
hit the
hands.
like.
Don't get your phone screen wet and just hit that like
Exactly.
button one time.
Exactly, gentlemen. But wrapping this up, Chris and I, we get this moment where I have said it numerous times, dating back to just even more recently with a fantastic show by the name of House of the Dragon. I do not like time jumps and I do not like off screen development. And we get both of these things in this last 10 minutes of the show. We fast forward to, I believe it was 6 weeks later. And in that time, we see that, or we learn that the journalist who was writing the story on Vanity Fair is now going to be writing a new narrative, which is a smear campaign or tearing down Tedros, which again is like, who who are you? Why are you
Right.
even mentioning someone that has
Yeah.
no name in Hollywood in a Vanity Fair article?
Mm-hmm.
Mind-boggling. But hey, that's the show. The journalist is writing the show about Tedros. CIA is on his ass. He lost his club. Meanwhile, Jocelyn's stock has never been higher. The tour's sold out. She has new singles that are selling out. And all this is happening. Cut to 9. Tedros pulls up to the arena, hoping that Jocelyn has left him a artist pass, and they don't know who's
Mm-hmm.
Tedros. She puts it under his real name, which it was kind of funny.
Yeah.
But before we get to the actual moment of them talking, the 6 weeks 9. Again, sometimes like Barry, I don't know if you guys watch Barry, but Barry had a very controversial time jump in the middle of its last season, which worked and didn't work in some elements. But
Mm-hmm.
normally, I'm not a fan of time jumps, especially in an actual episode. Is not, to be fair, it's not like years later, but it was 6 weeks is a pretty long time when we've been, if I'm not mistaken, every episode of the show has been essentially like every day has been an episode. But now, what did you think about this time jump, and did you believe all the stuff that it was building up from the last 6 weeks?
Yeah, I mean, I can see it if she's like on this like massive comeback tour. And again, like even just like the bad publicity is great publicity, right? So with all of the like controversies that are swirling around her, and then like this piece about how she has been what I'm thinking is like the angle that the Vanity Fair reporter was able to pick up on is her link with Jocelyn and Tedros.
Mm-hmm.
So that would have been like huge news, and that could have been like I don't know. It's like someone if like we found out that like Beyonce was getting manipulated by like some fucking secret pimp or something, that would be like we'd be like,
That's a
what the
point. That's a good
like that would
point.
blow up the
Like I
fucking
mentioned,
world.
Stevie J, because you imagine Stevie J was pimping
Right.
out Beyonce behind the
Yeah, like by
scenes.
the
Yeah.
scenes this whole
Yeah.
time. I
Or
would
what's
have
that dude's Nicki Minaj's ex-boyfriend, Safari or
Surfer
something?
Safari.
Safari.
Yeah, he was like
Yeah.
secretly behind the creation of Nicki Minaj, and once she
Right.
got
Like
big, she was like, "Okay, bye bye, peace out,
yeah,
my
Yeah.
dude." Yeah,
so I can definitely believe that just because that's it's kind of the shit that we all do. It's
yeah.
clamor for all of that. So
That's true. You make a good point. I was kind of dismissive of the whole thing, but it is because, like, to your point, now it was the story was to build her up because that was
mm,
another plot that we talked about in episode 1. What's this angle with Vanity Fair? Is it to build her up, to break her down, but ultimately ended up working to her advantage? But Chris, your thoughts on this time jump here, man, and the whole narrative is at play. And again, Johnson's stock is now on the highest rise possible. But also, as I pull up this screenshot here, I'm thinking of at least the look of the character reminds me very much of a Marilyn Monroe type of look that she has. And if you all are familiar with
I thought they were going
Marilyn
with
Monroe, you go
I
ahead.
thought they were trying to do that callback to like Fatal Attraction because they watched that in episode 1.
That's
Ladies
exactly
and
what
gentlemen,
it
this is
is.
why Nine and my man Chris is on the show, because they bring the fire.
There it is.
Thank
There
you,
it
Nine. That is
is.
Chris, because I was going to say it reminded me kind of like Marilyn Monroe, like how if you're familiar with her story,
There
she
it
lost a
is.
lot of her agency and men completely controlled her life.
Yeah.
But yes, to your point, it's been a while since I've seen Fatal Attraction, but there is a moment where the character essentially
That's
is
the
manipulating
one.
the Michael Douglas character the whole time. Yes. Take it away, Chris, because you just blew my mind, man. Take it away.
Oh, wait, is it
Yeah, I
Fatal
mean,
Attraction or is it
it's they showed it in the movie. It's
Yeah,
with this girl.
her and homegirl Leia was
They're
I
watching a
think
movie.
is it Basic Instinct?
Maybe it's Basic Instinct. That's what I'm thinking of. But it's
Okay, yeah. Yes, you're right. It is because that's not Helen Hunt, but yes, it is Basic Instinct. Yes. Because that's the whole.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Basic
That's the
Instinct.
famous. I think
Yeah,
she might even be
they were
wearing the.
watching that.
She's
'cause
wearing
I think
like the
Sharon
same
has the
top
white,
and
yeah, when
everything
she
too.
has her legs. Yeah, very
Yeah.
famous. Yes. Again, this is why Chris and Nine are here, because they bring the nuggets, guys. So yes, continue, Chris, as you were saying for that moment, just the 6 weeks in the
First of
build
all,
up.
what we're not gonna do is say that Nikki ain't have no hits without Safari. I see that in the chat. I'm gonna let that.
Oh, that's
I'm gonna
amazing.
just chill. But no, I thought number one, I thought that the look was fire here, and I knew I saw the callback because they were watching it.
Yeah.
But yeah, this scene was fire because then you get that one little dig. I'm like, oh, they really played him by not letting him backstage and all that. First of all, I'm like,
Right.
oh, he didn't get a pass to come in. That should have told me that they was just playing with him. But then it all went downhill when, that's what I was thinking of.
Yeah,
It all
she's
went
wearing it's the
downhill.
exact same shirt. Yeah.
Yeah, it all went downhill when it's like when she calls him on stage. But I thought like the setup was fire. And I also want to give a shout out to the freaking security guards, man. All black security guard team. And
That was hilarious.
funny. Nah, bro, them boys was a cookout mode, man.
That's barbershop roasting a fool that come in the barbershop trying to get their hair cut. And you just like, no, we don't got no slots right now, bro. As soon as they walk out, they clown him like it's like
call him Dolomite, man.
Dolomite.
Shiny ass suit. Man, they had me dying, man. They was going crazy, man. And also shout out to the maids too. They was clowning in Spanish.
Oh, the maids,
episode. They
Chris,
was going off.
MVPs.
Yeah.
The maids were what they say, the complex, the Napoleon complex, they were cracked. Write it down. Another spinoff. Leia, the maids. The maids go around to different Hollywood people's houses, and we see the inside of their houses and how disgusting and crazy they are.
Yeah.
HBO make it happen. But I'm sorry, Chris. What were you saying?
Cribs.
No. That's it. That's what I want to give the flowers to the security team. That was some realistic shit. Shout out to the writers giving them. They probably just let them cook a little
just
bit.
Riff off,
let them riff. But they was. I just want to talk about that.
It's a great call out, and also, like I said, to the credit of Chris and Nine bringing up the call out of Basic Instinct, the look of Sharon Stone. Great call out, and this is another example. Again, love it or hate the show, there are moments where there are great callbacks, because that is a great callback, Chris, of them. It's a quick scene, right?
Yep.
Them watching a movie, but whenever you see a movie in a movie or a movie in a show or vice versa,
it's for a reason.
It's implying something. It's like letting the audience know that. And if we even go back to that, I think that was episode 1, Chris. If we even go back to that scene, it's telling you the writing on the wall the whole time that Jocelyn's manipulating the situation. She's not being taken advantage of. So it's been there all along. Again, Nine, I try to always, we try to squeeze as much as we can out of the show. And there's moments like that, as y'all both just highlighted, that, there is some attention to detail every now and then, even if it's hard to find through the craziness of the show.
Did they really pull it off? Or did they kind of just like sprinkle
happy
it
accident?
It's
the Starbucks cup on Game of Thrones. They just just there.
Right. I mean, they did it for a reason for sure, but they didn't like really use it to the best effect.
Yeah.
And it's definitely been a while since I've even like thought of Basic Instinct, so I'm a little bit hazy on the details, but just going over the synopsis, I don't even know if it's like the best like parallel that they could have
to the
like.
show. Yeah, I think
Right.
from
Yeah.
what I remember, the Sharon Stone character, which is a very manipulative individual, and she
Mm-hmm.
kind of played I won't say damsel in distress, but she played very like you can get over on her, and that she was
Mm-hmm.
kind of 10 steps behind, but she was really the one kind of controlling things from behind the scene. I don't want to spoil the
Right.
movie, but
Right.
she gets
Like
hers with Michael
I don't know
Douglas.
if Jocelyn got her like real big moment to be like, aha, I'm the
Yeah,
one.
yeah. I agree. I agree. But as Chris pointed out, shout out to the security guards riffing on them, and also the stadium that they're in. Is that the Cowboy Stadium?
No,
The
they're in SoFi Stadium. That's in LA.
okay, gotcha. Okay,
That's where
is
the
that
Rams
where the
play.
Rams play? Okay, yeah, there was some
Yeah.
football team.
I watched
Gotcha.
the I watched the after show and they said that was like the actual like
The actual weekend concert they were
I was
filming
gonna
in
ask you
his
guys
store.
because I didn't watch the after show, so they were because I was gonna whenever I see shows like I think of The Star Is Born, like those are real people in the audience, and I think they were at a Lady Gaga concert or someone's concert. But yeah, so
right.
go ahead, Chris. What were you saying, or Nine that was an actual weekend
Yeah.
concert?
Yeah, basically, and I think like Sam Levinson was actually like right on, like right there, just kind of like filming the whole thing. And I think they said that they had 2 takes for like each night of the show.
Oh wow,
So
okay,
yeah, so they were able to pull that together. Right before this, though, I did want to do another like movie reference. You
yeah,
mentioned
yeah, shoot for it.
Succession,
Yes,
when they're on the golf cart, and I was thinking The Graduate, and I sent you the photo in the chat if you want to do like a comparison or whatever.
oh yeah,
Fire
yeah, here it
chat.
is, yeah, yeah. Great
What
that I haven't seen that
comparison?
film since college, but that was it's a classic, and this is a great
Mm-hmm.
that's a great call. And I'll fast forward to that scene, but yeah, if you want to elaborate on it more, this kind of moment between the two
Mm-hmm.
characters with
And it's
Dustin
kind of
Hoffman's
switch
character.
because it's like the happy ending after this he gets to the girl or
Yeah,
whatever, and
yeah,
then their faces kind of like shift of like what have we just done,
yeah,
they're all smiling, then they're like also just kind of like peering out like, okay, what happens now? um and we kind of get that same vibe with well, I guess more so on Tedros's part of
right. Like, what did he get himself into?
exactly,
Yeah,
exactly. And like kind of his face is not as excited as he would have been. Like this is like really his dream. This is the goal that he wanted to
yeah.
be at.
His
But
babies are
now he's
now on
kind of just like,
stage.
yeah, he's now
It's a good
being
call.
pimped out in a way himself, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, he is pimped out. He lost everything. At least that we're led to believe that, and we see the execs are now the kind of the peanut gallery making fun of Tedros, like, oh, we screwed him over, ha ha ha. We really did one over on that guy again. I'm thinking to myself, guys, you're happy that you tore apart a nobody. Like, congratulations, guys, congratulations. You tore down a guy with a rat's tail, but they're celebrating that. And I've been saying it for weeks, man. I wish she would have had a little bit more to do in this finale, but whenever she is on screen, she eats it up. I'm talking about Destiny.
Yep.
Chris,
Oh
I don't know
yeah.
how you feel about that character. Me and Nine have been praising her all the weeks that we've been talking
Yeah.
about this show. Your thoughts on her? And I guess it just kind of wraps up to, I guess, the most shocking moment of the episode. He gets to the bag, they clown him. He finally gets there. And before he meets with Jocelyn, he talks to Destiny, and she pretty much tells him that, man, we got one over on you, bro. You were a pimp. I don't care how you look at it, call it whatever you want, but at the end of the
Call
day,
spade a
you were a
spade.
pimp. Exactly. And she says, and this is where my jaw, not literally, but figuratively speaking, my jaw hit the ground when she says, if you screw her over again, I'm going to kill you. And I'm immediately in myself thinking, is this really happening? Number one, coming from this character that I really enjoy, and seems to be the only character that was very realizing the situation from the get-go. I can't believe that she was saying this, Chris, that she's pretty much, I mean, at the end of the day, it's Jocelyn's decision, but I can't believe that Destiny wasn't able to talk her out of, ultimately, Chris, allowing him to come back into her life. And we see her telling him, I missed you. I couldn't do this without you. Chris, man, and then we'll talk about the last scene. But Chris, just your thoughts on number one, Destiny, just your thoughts of the actor and the character these past 5 weeks. But then were you just as shocked to hear her accepting him back into Johnson's life?
Yeah, I just put in the chat. I like everything that Destiny does. I've been liking her from the beginning.
Yeah.
I was like, am I hearing it right? When she was like,
Yeah.
if you hurt her again, it's like,
It's like
what do you mean
there's a second
again?
chance. Yeah, right.
What are you talking about? Did y'all try to like erase him? So I
Mm-hmm.
thought that was weird. But to me, Destiny overall, besides that, was like perfect for this role.
Yeah,
I could
100%.
I believed everything that she was saying. Like she could be in the industry, and if I was a pop star, I would want me a Destiny on my team. So
100%, bro. Yes.
I thought it was good.
Yeah. I was
Never
shocked
want to be a
nine.
pop star after
Yeah,
watching
not
this
yet.
bullshit. Jesus.
Right. We
Those
see.
parties would be so far though.
Nah, your thoughts on Tedros getting his second chance with Jocelyn, but more in particularly just your closing thoughts on Destiny, because like I said, the last few weeks have been really giving her flowers, deservingly so,
Oh
because she's
yeah,
been the most funniest character and the most real character this entire show, but not the realest in this
yeah,
moment. Nine, it was just kind of shocking that Destiny was. I don't want to say
yeah.
allowing, because at the end of the day, she is an employee of Jocelyn, so she really can't control which way she goes in this sense. But I was just shocked
Right.
that she was just like accepting him coming
Mm-hmm.
back in and what did you think about it now?
I mean, fantastic. Divine Joy Randolph.
Yeah.
And a little connection here because right before he goes in, they roast him, call him Dolomite. And of course, she was Lady
She was in that
Reed in
movie.
Dolomite is My
Yeah.
Name. So there's a little connection
Nice.
there.
That's good. That's good.
Hey,
And
great call. Great movie, by
now,
the way.
fantastic movie.
Great movie. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it feels like she knew what was up. Like she's kind of like when she was saying like we've all had to do things to survive. That's where I was just like, okay, I think she recognizes that. I think what maybe what they're trying to get across is that like we're all kind of pimping here as
Mm-hmm.
well. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Right.
We
Right.
all have kind of like ran your game in some type of fashion or whatever.
Sure.
Now, if you overstep this, then it's your ass. But at the same time, I do respect that what you've brought together and like what you brought to us. And I was like, this is like so mobby, you know what I mean? This is so I don't know, like what's the word I'm looking for? It it almost feels like
It's on the tip of your tongue.
it's
Call
on the
back.
tip of my tongue. It's on the tip of my tongue.
I know what you're saying. Though.
Uh
I know. I'm trying to find the words. I know exactly what you're saying. Though it's almost kind of like game recognized game in a sense, but it's just like you thought you were bad. I'm badder, and we can all. I know where you're kind of getting
right,
at. Yeah.
right.
Like that mutual
You're
respect type
just
of
the
thing.
assistant to the
Yeah.
pimp now.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
and it's just kind of I don't know. That screenshot that you had of him is just also pretty funny. I just like seeing the weekend cry. The
Yeah.
messaging for this is just so like weird. It's like, oh, was I a good pimp? Yeah, you were a
Mm.
good pimp.
You were good.
You
You
did.
rattled up this.
You were the
Well,
best.
to stick on that before we wrap up and see the final scene, I want to go back to you, Chris, as far as just kind of, again, the Desi of it all and her, and to what Nine's point of like, we're all pimping someone in a situation. Johnson's pimping us, we're pimping her. It's a pimping
Right.
game. But I guess my question for you, Chris, is just kind of like, what is this earned? Is this an earned scene for Destiny to have this moment with him, for him to have this moment of recognition of game running game? I don't know, Chris. It just feels kind of hollow and kind of a mixed bag for me. But I don't know, man. Did you feel this was earned for him to kind of have this moment of clarity and being like, yeah, I messed up.
Nothing
You're giving me a
changed.
second chance. Exactly. That's what I guess I'm a
Like
reference. Yeah.
is the answer is
What's the
no, it's
lesson?
not earned because nothing happened. He didn't come back and say, I was tripping, I was bugging, I caught him. I saw potential in her, and I got carried away. Like it was none of that, which would have been an easy reason for her to be like, all right, nigga, I got my eyes on you. But there was none of that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And yeah, and again, this just speaks with the problematic nature of the whole show because is it like an ode to toxic relationships or is
Mhm.
it like I don't know, are we trying to say that everyone is toxic in this situation and it's all grimy and nasty? Because I don't think they are landing on that either.
Yeah.
But when you're saying like Chris, like nothing changed, yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
it all worked out for him at the end.
Right, right. I mean, again, I guess I'm just trying to just find some type of, and I'm not a Hollywood exec or executive producer or any matter, but I guess the message
Yeah.
would be not yet. Yeah. Shout out to Chris. Sometimes shitty people win, I guess. Is that what we're getting at? It's just like sometimes,
Yeah.
at the end of the day, Hollywood is a corrupt business. Hollywood and music industry is a corrupt business. Sometimes shitty people end up on top because, like Chris and Nine both said, what are the ramifications? He lost the club. That was essentially, I mean, we were only at the club once. We don't know if he was struggling with the club, if it was a big success, whatever. He lost his club. The IRS is now on him. He has his name out there in the public. Which who knows why does it matter? No one knows who he is. I don't know. Is that the message, Chris and I? It's just like, hey, that's just the business sometimes, that if you screw over people enough, you might end up on top.
Maybe that is the message. Maybe it's just like you just can't win. It's just like the good. There is no room for the good guys.
Yeah, there's no good guy in the show at the end of the day. Besides Layla or
and then she leaves. So then there is no.
She didn't have the skin for it, but
yeah,
geez. When it comes down to messaging or what the point of this all was supposed to be, why is this show like able to justify its existence? I think this is going to be kind of like a benchmark for a long time for like this Hollywood peculiarity of what HBO released. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
People are going to be looking at this like, remember The Idol? Wasn't that a fucking bizarre ass show, huh?
I honestly, I think the shelf life of this won't be a lasting effect after a couple weeks or so. But yeah, I mean, just to get your final thoughts, gentlemen, on this scene. Again, she accepts him. She tells him that I couldn't do this without you, and I need you, and we're about to take over the world. It's a weird thing. I mean, again, I don't know if there were people at home that were rooting for. I'm sure there were. I was at points rooting for Jocelyn, even though I was like, "What is like?" She knows what's going on. Why don't she just break out of this kind of spell that he has over her? But ultimately, we find out that she was, aware of this the whole time. But I guess again, the question, Nine and Chris, was: do we supposed to feel something for Tedros in this scene? Is this a moment where, like, after all this stuff that he's done? Mind you, we found out last week that he kidnapped, abused his ex-girlfriend, went to jail for 6 years, which is just like, okay.
They didn't do enough to make us change our mind. Like, nothing changed.
Yeah.
It's like
they didn't beat him up. They didn't bully him. They didn't jump him. Like, nothing changed.
Get one beat down scene of his like Colt or
just
Isaac
we didn't get one ass whooping that he deserved.
I would have loved to see Isaac beat the shit out of him.
Even Rob coming up to the concert, right? Where they're having this moment, he punched. I mean, that would have been, but my man didn't even get his rat tail pulled. Chris and I, not once, or cut off for that matter.
Yeah.
This is the shot here. Yeah.
When the bad guys at like the end of like superhero movies like sacrifice themselves and they're like, "Oh, I'm a good guy now." It's like, nah. No. You're just a piece of shit still.
Yeah, you just lost.
You just lost.
Which I guess not to forget this scene, and before we wrap it up, because there was some questions earlier asked in the chat. The brush. So we see her, they make their forgivings.
I knew the brush was going to be
this
there.
Did you say Inception?
This is the top from Inception. It's like, what's that brush there?
Yo, that is hilarious, man. Put that on a t-shirt. Put the brush on a t-shirt and just have like a question mark.
Just have it spinning.
We need breakdown videos, explainer videos. This is like this needs to be talked about in years to come, especially in like schools and whatnot, like cinema. So I'm gonna start with you, Chris, on this exception moment. So this whole situation in episode 3, it was revealed that her mom used to beat her, but in particular, she had a brush that she would beat her with after she, did her thing, whatever. Fast forward to the finale, Tedros, they're now in love again. He picks up the brush and which I guess I'm forgetting. Didn't he pick up the brush in episode 3?
Yeah, he did.
Because he holds the brush in his hand, Chris, and he says, "Wait. Isn't this the brush your mom beat you with?" Yeah, it is. It feels brand new. But didn't you hold it like 3 weeks ago? I guess maybe he didn't touch that part. Anyway,
But he
plot
didn't he hit her
hole.
with it? Didn't he
He
actually
hit her
use
with
it?
it, and he
Yeah.
brushed her hair with it in the
Yeah.
bathtub. I guess plot hole. I don't know. Inception. It was all a dream. Chris, he holds the brush, and then she looks at him and says, when she says, "I thought the brush was, your mom beat you with it, but this is brand new." So I guess, Chris, the question I have for you, was that a fake story? Did her we agree that her mom did abuse her to a certain extent, but
Yeah.
to what extent? Was it all like, because again, maybe I know you mentioned earlier Xander was like, he was very,
Yeah. No,
emotional about
I
it.
thought it was real. I thought it was real. Of course, I'm sure the brush. Obviously, she's like, "Nigga, why would I keep that brush? What's wrong with you?" So, I'm sure
Yeah.
she was getting hit, but she she's just like, this could work, and like he would fall into this trap. But I do think she was being abused. I think the calling for her mom in the video shoot was real. So it's like you wouldn't just do that if you weren't going through some things. So, yeah, but yeah,
But is it real, Chris? Is it real,
I
I
think
man?
think it's
so.
completely real. I
You
think
guys
it's
think it's
completely
real?
Yeah,
real.
Okay.
And
And I
I
said that.
interpreted
Yeah.
this scene to mean that like, oh, we're starting a new cycle now. Like that old brush was for my mom. This new brush is for
Oh,
you.
okay.
yeah,
That's how
Okay.
I
I
interpreted
like
that.
that. I like that. Okay. Respect,
yeah.
respect. Okay. Very, very interesting. You know what? You just changed my mind, Nine.
Hell yeah.
Very good moment. Mic drop or brush drop, I should say.
Brush up, man.
That's a new perspective on it. He's the new, I think we've been saying it for a while that he's kind of the new mom of the situation, or dad. Okay. I like that, Nine.
Yeah.
You changed my
And I mean,
perspective on it.
someone in the comments hit it. I think they mentioned about the kind of like there's the cycle of abuse
Right,
that
right.
is
Kind of
being
generational. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
right. So
We
I think
see.
and that's
Cycle of
probably
abuse,
like just the one thing that she kind of needs. Like, she's about to go on stage,
yeah,
kill the show or whatever, and that she's always had this abuse in her life from
right,
her mother
right.
to like perform the best. So I think like right before they got on stage, they had a little
A
smackdown
little
session
little
or something.
ritual.
Oh god.
Yeah, I think right
And
before then.
man, I mean, if that's the case, that the show some restraint and not give us, and for the first time, if I'm not mistaken, this whole episode there was no sexual
Right.
scenes,
Other
sex
than like,
scenes.
yeah, other
Well,
than when
Jocelyn, her
Jocelyn's
dancing was,
like
I guess,
a little
sensual,
bit, yeah, but
sexual,
not
but
as
not as
like
that was
crazy as
tame
it was.
compared to
Yeah,
last week getting
yeah,
fingered while singing in
or
front of a group of people. So it definitely
right, yeah.
was a much
Oh
different moment
yeah,
for
I forgot
sure.
about that part. Yeah,
How could you forget, Chris? How could you forget?
yeah.
Because there's so
Uh,
many moments.
so many,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. But let us know in the chat, guys. Like I said, Nine just dropped the brush on us that this is the kind of a new cycle, which I definitely like that. Well, I don't like that because the show is like, I don't agree with those methods, but to the sense of the show, yes, it does make sense in the narrative of this toxic relationship that this is a new cycle of the sorts. But we end on stage, gentlemen. With her, with thousands of people screaming, her
70,000.
name. Yeah. Oh, and by the way, before I even wrap up that part, just to kind of go back to Nine mentioned it earlier with The Graduate, and I mentioned a little bit earlier in the episode that if there are any Succession fans out there, which if there isn't, what are you doing? Watch
Get your
Succession.
life right.
It's
Yeah.
fantastic. If you guys remember in the finale of Succession, without spoiling anything, but for those that haven't seen it, there's a shot with two pivotal characters by the name of Shiv and Tom, who there's a shift in the dynamic of their relationship, to say the least. And there is a scene where one character is holding out their hand and the other character puts their hand over there, but it's essentially like Nam is alluding to with The Graduate. It's a situation where it's like this very toxic relationship moving forward. But more importantly, there's a dynamic and power that's shifting. Tedros essentially being led to believe that he was the leader of this relationship. He was controlling the situation.
Yeah.
This shot shows the complete opposite. Now it's Jocelyn like, hold my hand because I'm in control. I run this ship now. And he's just kind of like willingly accepting this new position of being his bitch. he's the one being pimped out. So that is a nice moment, especially since none of us in the panel and none of us probably watching at home are fans of Tedros. So it's kind of like, yeah, take it. And I hope now he's getting beat every night with a brush. And also, hopefully, he's brushing his hair and taking
Better
his
same.
showers. But we end when she tells him, "I love you," this, that, and the other. 9, Chris, the crew and the crowd's like, "What the F just happened?" Our girl is going back to this dude. She introduces this guy, Tedros, to the
Love of my
audience
life. Ugh.
as her family, the love of her life. He tells Tedros, "Go ahead, come on, all right, go over there and watch me work." Who want to take it first? Chris, 9. This is the last shot of the episode. Which, by the way, I
Blood
will
red
give
mood.
this. I'm gonna say
Yeah.
the cinematography of the show. If there's one thing I will say about the show, Lily Rose Depp was solid throughout, and the cinematography was pretty amazing throughout. And this is a great capturing of, just like you guys mentioned earlier, this is an actual concert, and I would imagine shooting a concert while shooting the show is not an easy feat. So it is a pretty well composition shot. But Chris, take it away, man. How do you feel about these last moments of Jocelyn revealing to the world that her love and her life is Tedros? And go ahead and be the housewife. Go sit over there while mommy goes to work.
Brings home the bacon. No, just like two other things, like to your point, cinematography. I think 5 out of 5, and then to I think 9's point. Damn, what was I even going to talk about? Dang. At the end. Oh, yeah, to 9's point was just learning about the after show stuff, about like just filming during the concert. Like, that's fucking fire. Like, that they even were able to do that.
Yeah.
But in the actual episode, my God, like, I just couldn't believe what I was watching. And if anything, like, I would have been like cool with like her dissing him in front of everyone, like, "Oh yeah, Vanity Fair article. Like, this is the guy who tried to take advantage of me. This is the guy who tried to ruin my career."
That was
let's give it up for him. But because like I'm the baddest bitch in the industry. You can't take me down. And then like a fucking song drops. Like, but none of this made sense.
Yeah,
none of this made sense.
It was really weird, really rushed at this point.
Yeah.
And it felt like it was supposed to be a twist or something, but I was like, what is going on here? And again, the cinematography. I talked about this a few episodes of how they, a lot of times they ended the episode, with the way that Sam Levinson loves to use his light. Wasn't that Jocelyn being completely covered in episode 1, kind of like these half on illuminations throughout the endings of each other episode, but then this one ending completely with Jocelyn illuminated. I thought was kind of like a full circle, kind of like we're all in the light now with what we're about to be doing. Whereas before it showed like the hesitancy and like where things going to teeter.
Isn't there, again, I'm not the biggest Weekend expert, isn't there a song like light, something with lights or bright lights or something in that nature? Blinded by the lights. So I totally agree with you, man. It's kind of and to your point, you've been calling out every single week that we end on these certain shots of characters, whether it's half of a face, full face, whatever the case may be, but we end on this shot with her with, number one, like I had it up there with him realizing that he's like in this. I mean, is it a bad deal? Is it something to be like, oh damn, this is my rest of my life is just terrible, millions of dollars, and I don't have to lift a finger. This is so bad.
I guess if the thing that he really wanted most is like complete control and knowing that he's never going to have that, I guess would be the only way that he's not giddy about this whole situation.
True.
But it's weird.
Oh, and I also forgot to live out the fact that she calls her audience angels.
Oh,
hello, my angels.
That was tough.
Chris, man, any final thoughts on this scene again? I think emotionally it would have worked for me if the show would have just made it out to be that this whole time that she's this girl that's has been pushed down, pushed over, taken advantage of, and she's now taking back some sense of agency. But at this point in the episode, they've shown us that she's been behind this the whole time. So it's almost just like, who cares?
I mean, it's like when they asked, was it Aretha Franklin, like, about Taylor
The
Swift.
Taylor Swift, yeah,
Uh,
Nice gowns, really pretty gowns. So I feel like Lily looks real good.
mm,
Lily
yeah.
looks
Shout out
real
to the
good.
mm,
Real,
makeup and hair department and the costume
mm,
real,
designers.
yeah, real
Yeah,
nice
mm.
gowns. Real
yeah,
nice gowns.
Is the idol. There it is.
yeah. Yeah. Nine final thoughts of this. I guess we can wrap up with this. Final thoughts on the show. Who was your standout, and what was something you took away from this entire experience from the idol?
I think
Um,
Lily is a standout. I'll go real quick.
Yeah,
I'll
yeah,
get.
shoot for it.
I think Lily is a standout. I was impressed with how she was able to make me believe that she was a huge pop star. And like I said,
mhm,
she grew up in Hollywood with one of the biggest movie stars, maybe of our generation. So
Yeah,
there's that. But I thought she did a good ass job. Um, I think the show is getting a weird rap that it doesn't deserve. Like we said, I can name a shit ton of plot holes and things that they could have missed or done, things that they missed or did or could have done better. But at the end of the day, I was into it, and it was 5 episodes of my life, and I've seen shows go on for seasons and seasons and give me
mhm,
nothing.
yeah,
So I respect HBO for taking a risk on like edgy content, um, but exposing some of this weirdness of Hollywood
yeah,
in their own way. And I thought, it's just a show that people are just, I think they're kind of getting on board with just hating something because it's trending to hate. Like, oh yeah, I think this show is kind of whack.
mhm,
And if it's too sexual for you, it's 100% free to change the channel. So I think we
yeah.
could just look into doing that next time going forward.
mhm,
I agree.
mhm.
Nah, your thoughts, man, on just final impressions. Oh, and by the way, Chris, I know you said Lily was your favorite, kind of your standout of this. Do you have a
Yeah.
particular favorite episode before I toss it back tonight? Was there an episode
Oh,
that
that's a
just
good
stood out to you, like a
question.
memorable scene or memorable episode for
Yeah.
you?
The memorable scene, the dinner scene with that whole
Oh yeah,
exposing the
yeah,
mom thing, and
yeah.
I think that was pretty memorable.
That was mine. Yeah, that was
Yeah.
gonna be
Great
mine.
call out. Great call out. So yeah, toss into you now. Favorite moments, standout performances, and final impressions on this show. And I guess just to throw another wrinkle in the mix, does this affect Euphoria moving forward as far as like how people perceive Sam Levinson and this maybe being a asterisk on his career so far, and people might be scared about Euphoria being in question?
I don't think so. Just because Euphoria has already always been in question,
Hmm.
and there's always been kind of like weird drama going on with that,
Yeah.
and of course the subject matter is very intense. I would even say it's more intense in Euphoria than in this show, right?
Yeah.
With the how like kind of dark and like sadistic the sexual nature of things
Yeah.
go in that, but with this again it's more about like the placing and like what are we doing. I really have a problem with those first two episodes,
Yeah.
and I would say episode 3 is where I was just like, all right, I do not hate this, I really like that. And again,
Hmm.
when they're talking about like bringing pain to make art, and
Yeah.
how that
Yep.
affects. I was like,
Yep.
okay, let's do more of that right there. Let's get into that nitty grittiness, and we'll be able to. I would be able to enjoy it a lot more, and like think about like those types of things, or like have a bit more compassion to everything that's going on, in the in the meanwhile between the softcore porn or whatever. But um Lily Rose Depp, yeah, amazing job. I hope this doesn't like fuck her up or anything, right?
I don't think
um
it will.
I don't think that it will.
Yeah, I don't
I
I
think
don't
it
think
think
will.
that it will.
I think
It's only
I
going to
think
help.
hopefully,
I agree.
yeah, hopefully this is like going to be a story that's like, oh, ridiculous project, all of these people were, I think, playing their roles. It's just that it's
Yeah,
just
yeah.
really weird. I'm not even going to say that The Weeknd did a bad job. I made me hate his character, and that's what we were supposed to do.
It's a great point, Nine.
So,
He did do the
like
job.
I think they
Yeah,
all did it's just a weird fucking story,
yeah.
and and I don't know. I don't know.
No, I agree with a lot that you guys said. I almost look at the Lily Jane, Lily Rose depth as kind of the almost the Chloe, Isaac, Ramsey, Xander. Like she's like
Mm-hmm.
the lost talent that is discovered from this show. So even though
Mm-hmm.
the show is kind of a Tedros of a sense, a toxic show at times, or a show that is questionable,
Yeah.
there's talent that you can take away from it. And I think Lily, I think she's going to be okay. I think
Mm-hmm.
people are going to bring her on to more projects. Hell, I wouldn't be surprised if there's two actors that I want to see maybe work with Sam again. It's her and Divine. I would love to see both of them
Mm-hmm.
be on like Euphoria season 3. They fit
Mm-hmm.
perfectly. Like I think, especially
Right.
Lily is like she looks like a because everyone on the show is a supermodel, so
Right.
she would fit right
Yeah.
in and be like a Maddie. She can be like another Maddie
Mm-hmm.
character for Nate Jacobs'
Shout out to
character.
the shout out
Mm-hmm.
to the Maddie cameo in
The
episode 1.
Maddie cameo, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
in episode 1, which was so quick. Which, by the way, to your point, Chris, this show does take place in the world of Euphoria.
Mm-hmm.
So, hey, who's to say that one of the characters go to a concert of
Wait, did
Jocelyn?
it really?
Yeah, yeah. That Sam
They,
Levinson confirmed that the Maddie, that's Maddie in episode 1.
oh, I
So it,
thought
it
she
takes
was
place in the same
playing
world.
the actress. Like,
No,
oh,
no, no.
like this
She's
is
playing
Mm-hmm.
Maddie. That was Maddie Perez, I think is her name in
Maddie
Euphoria.
Perez. You
So
got it right. That's
it's
good.
it all connects, Chris. It is the MCU. It's the Sam Levinson verse where
Damn,
everything connects. Assassination Nation,
the Samiverse.
Malcolm and Marie, and
Mm-hmm.
Euphoria. Now add this
Oh God,
redheaded
Malcolm and
stepchild
Marie.
in the mix.
Yeesh.
But overall, I will say, yeah, Lily stands out to me. Divine has always been a star, but she really just showed her star power. Like, even though she wasn't given the most, she shined in her moments. And then
Mm-hmm.
again, I can't think of the actress name, but that Chloe, because I think she's an actual singer in real life, the girl that
Yeah.
played Chloe. She's a talented
Susanna's
individual,
son.
man. Yeah, yeah, she's pretty dope. And then to Chris's point, I don't understand the like I understand people don't like the show because it isn't the perfect show. I get that. But the hate on this show to me was just like, oh my goodness, don't watch it. Why are y'all
Mm-hmm.
constantly complaining
It's
about
free.
how like dark and twisted and like manipulate? Like it's so much stuff that I read. I didn't read every single article or watch every single review, but I just feel like there's so much more terrible written shows out there than this. But neither here nor
Mm-hmm.
there. I didn't think it was as bad as the press made it out to be. But at the same time, as we talked about throughout this review, it does frustrate me, especially going back to our initial conversation up top. This is HBO. This isn't Freeform. This isn't
Mm-hmm.
ABC. This isn't Hulu.
It's
This is
not
the
Disney.
premium. Yeah, this isn't Disney. It's damn sure ain't no Disney because they would you would not see any of this stuff on Disney, but or maybe you will subliminally in one of their animated movies.
Yeah.
There's a Tedros in one of the Little Mermaid background.
Yeah.
But no, this is HBO. So there is a
Scroll.
part of me that's like the bar is here and the idol's here, where it just doesn't give me the same quality that we're used to with HBO being such to a high standard. So there are moments in episode 3 and 4, like Nine alluded to, that really showed me that there is something good there, but it just got
Mm-hmm.
convoluted, messy. It was kind of like, again, I mentioned TikTok earlier. I feel like Sam Levinson was just scrolling with ideas, but never really stuck the landing on any of the messages.
Mm-hmm.
Because as we talked about with this ending, how are we supposed to feel as an
Mm-hmm.
audience with Jocelyn taking him back in after weeks of being like, oh man, I feel so bad for her losing her mom. Oh man, I want this,
Mm-hmm.
at the end of the day, she put this pain and torture and this toxic dude back in her life. So it's just, I don't know,
Yeah.
man. It's just,
Is
yeah,
it supposed to be empowering? And I know that we're just like
yeah.
all just just dudes here or whatever. So talking about it, but like I'm not seeing like people feeling any
I want to
sort
be
of way.
Jocelyn.
Yeah, like you know what I mean? Like the idol to who again?
Yeah.
And when you just mix in these like really problematic sources where you're going to kind of like build up these anti-hero devices
Yeah.
for our main protagonist, then they really got to be like, whoa, I can't believe she did that type of
Mm,
thing.
yeah.
Where I'm like on that level, but I'm like, but why did she invite
Why
Tedros?
does she
Like,
do
I'm
all
kind of
that? Yeah.
like, other than
Yeah.
she's just like more hurt and still in a way being manipulated. and I have no idea.
So my question, and maybe you touched on this before I joined, but
Yeah.
I have to go back to this episode 6 to 5. Number one, when was it announced that it would only be 5 instead of 6? Like, was it in the middle, like while this was happening, or was it like when the show was in the
It was
beginning?
like
Like,
on episode 4, we were just kind of like for me, I was like randomly hit with the only one episode left.
Yeah, the trailer.
Final, and I was just like, wait, isn't this supposed to be 6?
Yeah.
So, but HBO never said anything. HBO only said we're not saying that there's going to be a season
After
2,
people
blah, blah, blah.
brought it
But they
up,
didn't.
yeah.
But they didn't explain about the 6 to 5.
There is some Variety article that I think explained from one of the producers that stuck on to the project. They said that it was always conceived, well, not always, it was conceived to be 6. When Amy Smets was on the show, it was supposed to be a 6-episode miniseries. But then when Sam came in, apparently this exec said that Sam said, no, we're just going to cut it down to 5. This is what the story is going to be. And again, it's Hollywood. They can just say stuff and we take their word from it. But I think this episode showed us that no, there was these are 2 episodes that was combined into a finale that would piece together to close it out. So
if he said that, then we would have known before the season even started that it was 5.
Yeah, for the longest time, and I might be mistaken, as I can't go back to see it. I remember when this show first premiered on IMDb, it said 6 episodes. And a lot of the press that was leading up to it said 6 episodes. So unless this is like the Mandela effect or I'm like making it up in my head, I was sworn this was 6 episodes. But it's over now. You know, I don't think they can't surprise.
I got this article from Collider up, and it says HBO has yet to comment on why the Idol will end up a bit short, but a source told TV Line that the move wasn't related to quality or the massive negative reaction to the series. Rather, the decision was reportedly made because the series only needed 5 episodes to wrap.
Which is that's kind of what I'm getting at, because like if I'm HBO and I think that the world is hating on my show, am I gonna cut it? Like if they already hate 5, like I mean, then they go, you gonna get this last 6 and hate that too. Like it's either we trial this and show it to some screeners and then never release it, but we're not cutting it short in the middle because people are hating on it. Because don't they think the more hate, the more tweets, the more people are gonna
any publicity any publicity.
So I'm just trying I'm trying to like wrap my hand around like would they really cut it short for feedback? I just don't know what they would get out of that.
I don't. That and again, this isn't. I know this is Max. It's a new name, a new brand, but this is still HBO. They're not going to be. I don't think. My opinion. I don't think a show's going to get bullied by Twitter to cancel an entire episode just because people don't like the show. That doesn't. People have happened in Hollywood and movies and shows, but I don't feel like HBO would be again. You know,
a show with The Weeknd in it. Like
it's like that wouldn't. But again.
That only happens in shows with people not talking about it. So.
Exactly. Yeah. Like I said, Freeform or a network television show that's supposed to have 18 episodes, but the viewership didn't come in, so they cut it down to 10 episodes. We see that all the time with CW Arrowverse. They cut those last few seasons of Flash and all that nonsense in half because people weren't tuning in. But speaking of tuning in, last question, Nan and Chris, do you feel like this was worth your time?
I think it was worth my time, especially at 5 episodes and it's weekly. I'm old school with the TV. I don't like I'm not a good binger, so I'm cool with the once a week. And I to Nine's point, like I've wasted so much time on worse shit. Like
same, bro.
Is this the best HBO show? No, of course not. But it's like I was into it and I was talking about it. And The Weeknd made me hate him. So it's like if a show could have a reaction and then have a somewhat decent finale to tie it up, even though some things were left open, I'm like, nah, it definitely did not waste my time. As an avid TikToker, trust me, I know what time wasting looks like. It wasn't watching a couple episodes of an HBO show.
I respect that. Same question for you, man. I know, we've had a good time covering on the last few weeks. You covered on your show. It's been fun, man. At the end of the day, it's been fun talking about it, speculating about what this could mean, what that could mean. I mean, this isn't no, Easter egg hunting show of like
Right.
thought-provoking think pieces about this. But it was fun while it lasted. But your thoughts, Nana? Did you feel like you wasted the last 5 weeks with
Yeah, I mean, I got my
Tedros?
vindication. Like the first thing I said, I was like, "He's a vampire." Got my vindication of
There you
like
go, bro.
that's
Since
at
day
least
one,
what they
y'all.
were going to be. But yeah, no, it's been just a blast talking about the show.
Yeah, man.
And that might be skewing my opinion just a little bit, just because I love talking about
The talk, yeah, the
shows
conversation.
and
Yeah.
the conversations around in it.
Yes.
And I guess I gotta say is like the part that is just so underwhelming to me is the like outrage part. I was like, no, this
I
isn't
want it.
something that was like so scandalous and
Yeah.
insane as it's like going to blow my mind and I got to go to church or whatever. It was none of that. Like it was just kind of like, this is just kind of strange, I guess, and
Yeah.
not really picking up the way that I thought it would go. And I wish they would have, directed it this way or like put, I want to see this other kind of like track for the story, but
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know.
One last point, because I saw someone mention in the comments earlier, and I mentioned it last week. Is it weird that and this is so left field, but I just saw the comment pop up again. The sexual nature of the show, is it weird that out of all the people that we saw, freaking Isaac thrusting the air, Lily James was pretty much naked the whole show.
Mhm.
Is there any Weekend fans out there that's mad that y'all didn't see a shot of the Weekend's butt cheeks or any nudity?
You
Y'all
say
think that the
those.
Weekend went to the show to Sam like, listen,
Just
we're
give
in
me
my
some-
house, bro. I appreciate you bringing the show to my crib, but
Mhm.
ain't no ass cheeks coming from the Weekend. Was it weird that the
Mhm.
Weekend didn't expose himself?
Only the taco meat. I
Only the
guess.
meat
I-
hair,
Yeah.
only the
It,
rat
it,
tail. That's
it
enough.
would only be weird if you did.
Right. I got to be naked every episode. Like I got Tom Cruise in every movie. The
You're in
Rock,
my
I can't
house.
lose a fight. Vin
I need to
Diesel
take my
can't,
pants
got to
off.
bring up family 20 times in every event.
Yeah,
Family
cover
show.
cover that whole thing. up.
Tedros Weekend's like, y'all, listen, I might be talking that scandalous stuff on my records, but you ain't gonna see me naked on this show.
Mhm.
Is he insecure, Chris? Is he not,
The Weekend.
not in the gym? Yeah, he's not in
You
the gym.
can't. You
hitting?
can't now. Yeah, you can't tell me that the Weekend works out. I can't see it. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I'm more surprised that he didn't like actually like do some like type of training and actually sung on the show,
Right.
or
Yeah.
It'd be like
had a little sing along or whatever.
Camille Najee. I remember that glow up when he did all that crazy working out for Eternals, and he didn't
Didn't
get
take his
one
shirt
scene
off.
of his shirt off. It's like, what was the point of you working out for all that
Yeah.
time for you not to
What was the
even?
reason?
What was the reason?
Right.
So the Weekend's been working out this whole time.
He kept it on though. I saw like a commercial or something. And he's still
cut. Yeah, he was
rocking the
on. He was
buff
on that
look,
show Chippendales, and he just looked so out of place to me because he was
What?
like in these tight ass suits, like a muscle bodybuilder,
Yeah.
trying to be like this like nerd scammer in the show. But anyway, listen, man. Chris, we can talk for hours about this show, about our movie we're making next year, coming to theaters near you, tip of the tongue. Shout out to that crazy idea.
Mhm.
But we're gonna wrap
Avengers
it up,
too.
guys.
Avengers 5.
Avenger.
Anthony
Oh
Mackie.
yeah,
Anthony
Chris,
Mackie
are you
was like-
familiar with the YouTube call out from Anthony Mackie, who said that if the writers and the producers don't get their ish together, YouTubers will be making the next Avengers movie?
Yes, I
So
saw your tweet about that.
yeah,
I saw you tweet that.
told Nine.
Someone added you. Someone added you.
Yeah. I said, let's call up Mr. Beast. He could be the Kevin
Yeah.
Feige to produce this film.
Right.
So we
What
got
an
Nine, we
icon.
got myself.
What a real icon.
Chris,
that
are
guy
you
is.
dropping some an announcement that you will be helping us put together the
Make
next
the
Avengers
Avengers,
movie?
YouTube Avengers.
Yeah.
No, I will be honored. I'll be
All
honored.
right.
I'll drop everything and do it.
Listen, first call to action. I know we got, hopefully we'll get some resolution to the Jonathan Major situation, but until that happens, I think we can go ahead and announce to everyone that we're going to be recasting him with The Weeknd. Abel will be the king of the dynasty. Moving forward, he is our new king.
Yeah.
How do y'all feel about that, Tedros?
The Weekend.
The Weeknd.
There it is.
The ideas just firing, man. It's firing on all cylinders, man. But gentlemen, this has been awesome. This has been fun. Like Nine said, the show might didn't necessarily stick the landing, but the conversation was just fun every single week, especially everyone in the comment section dropping your nuggets. I appreciate it. But I'm gonna outro this thing out, and Chris, I'm gonna kick it to you, man. The Wizards, Washington Wizards season ticket holder for Jordan Poole next season. Chris, why don't you let the people know where they can find you and what's next, man? I know you cover so much great content on your channel, man. What's the next bit of movie reviews, next TV show that we can look out for Taste Take?
Yeah, let me think. But first of all, shout out to you for having me on, and a huge shout out to Nine. I love meeting new YouTubers, so that's always a freaking pleasure spending time. And, you know, if you guys are interested in my takes, you can find my stuff somewhere in the description here. I'm Chris Tate, representing Tate's Take. The next thing I'm checking, I got some more Netflix. I do a lot of Netflix reality stuff, so I'm always into the dating world, all that crazy stuff. I do a lot of documentary stuff. The next movie, what's the next movie that I'm watching? I know it's a big month. July is big. I got, you know, Barbie's coming. I'm gonna watch Mission Impossible. Of course, we got the Oppenheimer. I don't even know how to say it right, but there's a lot of stuff coming in July that I'm gonna have some opinions on. Last movie that I watched was The Blackening. I was not risking losing my black card not watching that black ass movie, so I did check that out. If you're black, just go support black art and go watch it. Interesting movie. But yeah, shout out to E and shout out to Nye.
Yeah, man, The Blackening was one of my favorite movie experiences so far this year. It reminded me of like back in the day with like the scary movie films and just talking to the movie while the actors and characters are doing what they're doing. It's a fun film, man. So definitely shout out to The Blackening and shout out to Chris, man. Again, yes, this month is stacked, packed, and wrapped in a bow, and it's going to be a lot of great content on Taste Take. So you guys should subscribe, check him out. You won't be disappointed because he not only gives you insightful commentary on the movies and shows, but my man is a stand-up comedian. Chris, I said it once, I'll say it again. When is the tour, man? Speaking of Jocelyn going on tour, where are you going on tour on the comedic show, bro?
I would not doing no stand-up, but I would definitely go on tour and be an opener for you if you want to just bring me on the road. And I'll just get the crowd, get the crowd just started warmed up. Just give them a little something before you come out there and then just bring it home.
We'll make it happen.
Just a little something, when they get that first buzz, when they getting drinks and stuff. I just that's my time, yo. Yeah.
Yo, shout out to my man Chris, and we definitely we got to link up again, man. I know we talk Marvel, so we'll talk off screen. We'll more
you're
stuff
on
coming
Twitter.
Soon.
Yeah, I'm on Twitter. I'm about to put it right in the chat right now. I'm at Taste Take on Twitter. It's nothing crazy.
That's what
at Taste Take.
They're asking for.
Twitter. Oh, that's funny. How many more days before we get tossed in? Now, how many more days to Twitter is still a thing? Because that's Blue Sky and Spill.
The worst person on earth, bro. That dude sucks.
Is Elon Musk?
I don't want to say he should have been on the submarine, but I don't want to not say that dude Elon is not it, bro. He is terrible. And I don't tweet that much, but I just hate the experience for people who really be on it. I'm like,
yeah. No, I mean, on a serious note, I do feel, because there are people that like that's their audiences on Twitter, their opinions and their views on whatever it is, movies, politics, whatever. But yeah, man, it's really messed up. I mean, like I said, I think Elon Musk is definitely a Tedros in his own right. And yes, Chris, that's what I said. The comedic. Come on, man, go on to it. That's a joke that would kill a club, literally. With
quite literally, man. That story had me in a chokehold, man. I love the Titanic, man.
When is that movie coming out? That's coming up next. Like, is it going to be?
Netflix is already cooking.
Netflix.
They were on that.
Is it going to be like an actual good movie, or is it going to be like a?
It's going to be a doc. It's going to be a documentary. Like, look,
definitely.
This is the 2-week anniversary of us the lost. They about to cook that quick.
Man, it's going to be the Tiger King all over again. It's going to be
the
talk of the town.
You can't ever pass Tiger King. That's going to be
that's what's funny is I've never seen Tiger King after all these years.
That's actually crazy.
That's actually crazy. Anyway,
good for you, actually.
Thank you, Nan. Speaking of thanking Nan, I appreciate you, man. From crossing from Succession over to this is a show that I think cousin Greg would have wrote. The Idol. Shout out to cousin Greg. But we went from Succession to the Idol, and you have been tagging along with me the last few weeks, man. And I really appreciate you joining me to talk about this show, having some great commentary, some good laughs at the same time, and really looking forward to doing more of these in the future, my friend. But before then, Why don't you let the people at home know where they can find you? You got a ton of stuff that you're going to be covering this week, so take it away.
Yeah, and I'm kind of ashamed of myself because I was trying to Tedros your channel this whole time and I failed. I was supposed to be the top dog of movie files by the time this was over. Um,
Nice.
but yeah, you can hit me up 9 Nerd Yards on YouTube. I will be covering The Idol with the whole gang on Wednesday. Thursday we're doing Secret Invasion lives, and actually on Tuesday we will be um interviewing an Ultimate Fighter. It's actually a bit different than what we have done in the past, but he has a fight on the Ultimate Fighter show, and we will be having someone on talking about their experience beating people up. So check that out on Tuesday if you're into that.
Nice.
Shout out to Nine and his
Yeah.
crew. They have not only great commentary on shows like this and Marvel shows, and of course, me and Nine linked up because of Atlanta, all time great. But they have some really awesome interviews. I'll rewatch the interview you guys had with the I can't think of the gentleman's name, but he was on Atlanta, but he was also in that show, the new movie, The
Oh
Angry
yeah,
Black Girl and Monster.
yeah, Keith Holiday.
The thing I love about you guys is number one, the channel, but also when you guys interview people, it seems so natural. It's just like one of the people. They feel like the talent that's on the show that you guys are interviewing just fits right in. You make them feel comfortable, and it's just a great conversation. So not only does 9 Nerd Yards have great breakdowns of movies and shows, but they do have some amazing interviews. And I'm just waiting for that interview when you guys get Abel on there and you can talk about this show, or Lily. Get
Absolutely.
Lily on there and get her
Well,
thoughts on
right
this.
now I just subscribed to someone named Tate's Take, so
Oh
maybe
yeah.
he's going to be down to come on the channel sometime. Who knows?
Yes,
Listen,
sir.
I know a guy that could put you in conversation with
There
him.
you go.
Okay.
I know a guy that knows a guy that knows a guy. Yes, we need to make that collab happen for sure. But this is a panel I would love to reunite with sooner rather than later. And like Chris said, there's a lot of stuff coming out this month that we can probably find something to talk about, whether it's an action movie like Tom Cruise and Mission Impossible, horror film like, we talked about A24 earlier. They got a new horror film, Talk to Me, and Insidious 5, and it's a lot, Oppenheimer, Barbie. You name it,
There's
man.
a
We
lot,
got to
yeah.
find something to link
We
up
will be
about.
doing a double feature for Barbie Oppenheimer.
Got to. It's only right. It's only right.
cover
But
that,
the question is now, which one do you watch first? Is it
so.
Barbie?
I'm going to go with. Oof.
You got to watch Op first, and then just
You gotta
cleanse.
get in
Just
the
do
mood.
just do a Barbie
How?
cleanse because
Yeah,
that's too heavy.
Yeah.
it's too
Then
heavy,
you do a
right?
little cleanse with Barbie at the end.
I agree. I
That's
agree.
probably the motion right there.
Double
Yeah.
feature, man. But yes, man, Chris and Nine's information can be found in the link of a description of this video. And then as far as this week, man, first week of the month, I believe the embargo for Mission Impossible is Wednesday, so keep an eye out for that. I'll be dropping that this week. And I'm going to go on a little mini YouTube vacation for a little bit because I don't know if there's anything before we get into the big time in a couple weeks. I don't know if there's another big show to cover, especially on HBO. I can't think of anything.
Yeah.
Have you guys watched, was it the new Hijack show on Apple with Idris Elba? Yeah.
No, I didn't see that yet.
I gotta catch that. I gotta catch it because I heard it was pretty good. But
someone put "I Am a Virgo" on.
Yeah, my man Jerome. Yeah,
yeah. I was gonna watch that. And going to see if I can put a video together for that, just to represent. Because
is it good? You finished the whole thing?
I've only watched the first episode. It's very twisty, very surreal, almost.
It's a superhero show, right?
It's superhero, but almost like fairy tale esque, actually. Yeah.
Oh yes, Terrell. Yes.
I gotta check that out. But yeah, there's that. There's the new Idris show. I'm a fan of the Foundation on Apple, so I know that's coming back in a couple weeks.
Foundation
for my sci-fi heads.
They're promoting that again. Yep.
Yeah, people have been hitting me up about Silo because they said that's excellent. I didn't like the first episode, but yeah, I'm gonna have to go back and check that out.
I might do a video on that too.
Yeah, man. And then last little things, yes, past lives. Before we wrap it up, have you seen Past Lives 9?
I have not,
bro.
What's it on?
It's theaters. On theaters. Yeah, go see it in theaters, man. It's an independent film that I think deserves all the praise that it's getting right now. Chris, I know you're not a big crier with movies and shows, but did you get a little emotional watching it? Past Lives.
That
No,
movie. No, it's a fire movie. I was not crying in that damn movie.
bro. No spoilers. The last scene.
Nah,
I see. What do you say? I see you again, or
Nah, I mean,
see you then.
Nah, he got some shit off.
Come on,
I
bro.
feel like I'm about to.
Are you a
Come
9
on.
Days fan?
Yeah.
So
My man.
which one do you like better?
Damn, that's a tough.
Because to me, this Past Lives is like the 9 days of this year. Like, so I'm like,
Right. Right.
I think my love for Zazie got to carry.
Zazie she was great in that film too.
Yeah.
I might have to give the edge to Past Lives because it was obviously
Great matchup,
that
great matchup,
9
great
Lives was like more of like fantasy. What do you do when you die? It was like the live action movie of Soul, which is fire. But this one, Past Life, is more rooted in reality, and there's a lot of reality of like we can all relate to. What if, right? And I think that really hit me because I definitely have some stories about what if this, that, and
got away.
Yeah, 100%. So I'm gonna give it a little edge because of that reality relatability factor.
All right, I like the way you answered that.
Two great movies, though. Two great movies. Again, guys, we can talk for hours, but I don't want to hold my guests too long, and I don't want to hold y'all too long. It's probably 2 o'clock on the East Coast or 1 o'clock on the East Coast, and my man Nine's in the Midwest, so it's 12. So we're off tomorrow, but still, they got things to do, people to see, all that good stuff. So with that being said, thank y'all that stuck around for the almost 3-hour stream for this show and stuck around for the last 5 weeks talking about this show. Many more videos to come, and especially with these two great people. So with that being said, myself, Nine, and my man Chris, good night, my angels. And if you ever see a person with a rat tail, don't trust them. We'll catch you guys on the next one.
Hell yeah.